Ready? Good. Robert, lads.
How are we?
How are we, first of all?
I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm absolutely sound. So, Robbie, we've got on today, is a gym lover, NHS worker,
Indeed.
an upcoming physio, therapist.
Hopefully, one day.
Yeah, you'll get there, lad. And another mental health enthusiast.
Indeed.
Yeah, so...
You know, with how it is in the world in this day and age, you know, it's becoming a more advert topic, especially more for men. So, you know, we have to look after ourselves, same as everyone. So.
We have to look after each other as well, lad.
Massively.
I'd say it's an absolute... It's mental how many times that we never notice on a day-to-day basis of how someone's going through something.
Oh yeah, obviously it's just how the world is now. It's very self-centered. It's very, you know, kind of do whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter, has no consequences kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, realistically, someone's really struggling and going through it, and you just won't see it. Especially with like just how like men in particular, like they always hold up and bottle things up because that's how we're taught as kids. Like, you know, just man up, get on with it and stuff like that. So it's just like, you know, you then get later on down into the 30s and 40s and they're really struggling, you know, and they're just, you know, there's all these really unhealthy coping mechanisms. So it's just mental, like how it is.
What are like the unhealthy coping mechanisms would you say that there are? So we touched on
massively. Like I can be avidly and open and honest about that. Like I struggle with drink, I struggle with the gambling, and you know, just this my own self feelings and self worth and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not going to say that I'm, like, fully, like, healed and there's a magical pill and everything like that. There's not. And you just have to really work through it. Like, the gambling, like, it's as recent as this year. Like, it was a real struggle with it where, you know, I was spending money that I didn't even really have. Like, I'd spend my rent money on it and stuff like that. And then it got to a point where I was like, look, you know, I need to get control of this because at the end of the day, it's only me that's going to be able to do it. You know, obviously I had people, like, in medical professionals to help me out. But ultimately, like anything in this world, if you want something, you have to do it yourself, but also have that support there to help you get where you need to go.
That is so true, man. Like, we were speaking a few times yesterday with two of the different lads that came on, and we were saying about, and one of the lads was, you got to be able to accept, like, open arms and help and stuff like that, but you also need to be able to go, I'm doing this for me. Yeah, I need to be able to get better because at the minute, this is shit. Yeah. I don't like it, and I don't want this shit to continue.
Yeah.
I find it mad how so many people can't get that. Like, it's like they can't be honest with themselves.
I think that's just, it's more of a, I would say personally, like for me, it would be more of an ashamed thing that they keep doing it. They keep keep happening the same process because of the fact that they're too ashamed of, they know that they've done something where it's like they're not proud of themselves, they're not happy, and they know that obviously they may have hurt other people in the process as well. But it's this horrible thing of like, you do relapse, things do happen, and situations in life will come about, and it will just hit you hard. And then, you know, you end up using these bad habits. You know, you'll then start drinking again, and then obviously that'll lapse into other things as well. And, you know, it is like, for me personally, like learning those coping mechanisms, and obviously now removing all of those bad habits, as in drinking loads and gambling loads, you know, removing them from my whole ethos of it is great. But then actually having that to then be able to understand, right, what coping mechanisms can I use now? Like, it's great having the gym and obviously dieting, two big, massive things for mental health. It's so, like, it's crucial. Like, you know, it's always what's constantly getting talked about at the moment, where it's like, you know, go to the gym, eat well, all that lot. And it's so true. Like, a lot of people's issues that are going on, like, mentally, can be alleviated just by doing them. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't mean it will fix all the problems, because at the end of the day, we all have our own individual traumas that are going to scar us differently. It's like, realistically, me and you could have the same trauma. We could have, you know, say, for example, we both get into the same accident.
Yeah.
We both break our arms, but we're both going to act differently to that because of our upbringings, how we perceive the world and everything like that. It's going to be just completely different. So we'll actually be able to help. Like, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it's like being able to have that conversation then, you're going to be able to have two perceptions of it. It's going to be completely different.
Like, I'm not going to lie, that was a heavy explanation of that. I'm actually I'm a little bit took back. I didn't think you had that in your pocket. There to say the least, lad. But why do you think, though, like, I know you're saying about that, different upbringings, but Now when it comes with the people in mental health, we always suffer with it, don't we? Like, everyone will not know how to react to it, first of all.
Because it's personal to you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, you know, you perceive it from, realistically, everything you learn as a child come from your parents or whoever is your parental, like, parental inspiration in a sense. So, you know, some people may live with their grandparents, some may live with their aunties and uncles, you know, just for whatever reasons and unfortunate circumstances that have come their way. And, you know, they teach us what we want out of life. They teach us the roles and stuff like that. They teach us the roles of what they've perceived. So it's like my mum was a single parent, you know, I had a bit of a deadbeat dad, which we can come on to later on. But, you know, she had to raise 3 kids on her own, you know, and she had to work all the time. She was a carer for my grandma and stuff like that. So, you know, for me personally, like, obviously I had to watch my mum work, slave away and work all these hours, go do 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Sometimes I had to go sit in the car with her when I was a little kid, you know, while she was going to go clean offices and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So doing all these things, I do understand, and I suppose in a sense is why I've had such a big thing for mental health, and obviously understanding that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of us are not blessed and gifted with silver spoons. You know, you see people on social media where they're like, "Oh, it's amazing, it's great. I'm living my best life. I'm having a gap year and all this lot." You know, and realistically, sometimes you may see that, but ultimately, what are they actually going through? Because the thing is, there's this whole, like, social media facade of things where, you know, you look, oh, they're doing great, they're doing amazing, they're doing this, that's this. But then what's, like, in their past, what's happened there? Because sometimes those things creep out, and then it's like everyone gets so shocked and go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. They seemed amazing, they seemed great, they seemed like life was going so well for them. But it's like I said, like, everyone is very good at hiding away, and that's something as a problem that's became more and more over time, is the fact that people are very good at hiding things away now and don't have to worry about, like, they'll just push it away until it becomes a problem. So
Where you were saying before as well, like, where about social media and that, do you reckon that's played an even bigger part in people's mental health? Because
yeah, massively.
social media would have been like the highlights of people's lives and all that. You don't see their trauma, you don't see their negatives, you don't see their down days or whatever it is. Some people do push it, like, it's obviously not a whole thing, but do you reckon that people feel ashamed and embarrassed, like you said before, about going through mental health? Do you reckon a lot of that stems from social media or who we are as people and just the shame that we feel?
It's a mixture. So I would say that there's a partial part of, like, being social media and, like, the stresses that men and women both face from it. You know, women need to have lip filler, have nip tucks, you know, vajazzles, whatever they need to have to be, like, in this social norm, which actually isn't a social norm. You know, there are things that are pushing people to extremes of all sorts of things, like, for example, with bodybuilding and just, you know, just these incredibly high standards that people have and how society wants you to be. Equally at the same time, it's just, you know, they're not always achievable, and it's detrimental to your own mental health in that sense. But then the same as at the same time, if you're having the other issues, you know, like in your own personal background and your own upbringing, they'll intensify these things. So then obviously people will go, you know, like, for example, I know a girl who's 19 years old who, like, was that insecure about her own body at the age of, like, what, I think it was about 18 she was, and she said to her mum, I hate my body, I want a boob job. So she got it done. Yeah. And you think that's mental, like, to the point where social media is making this poor girl have such a bad thing about it, is that, you know, she doesn't care about the debt, she doesn't care about the future care and stuff like that, and the issues that come with having, because the thing is, like, some women, and I don't know if anyone's seen any kind of crazy stories that have happened, but it's like, you know, there's been women who's had silicone and they've been allergic to it, and it's completely destroyed just their breasts in general, where it's literally, like, perforated the whole skin, the skin's just exploded and everything. Like, there's been some really bad, scary stories, because obviously when people can't afford it, they'll go to these cheaper doctors abroad and stuff like that, which will then ultimately can cause so many problems. So it's just crazy how much of a impression social media, but also how then these little things that go on in our lives. With the same, for example, with the ashamedness of it, where it's like, I feel ashamed about my body, so I'm going to go and do something that I feel like is going to be right, but they don't know what the repercussions are, because they're kind of in a sense of fogginess, I suppose, in a sense, where it's like, oh, I want this, so it's like, I'm not going to see the bad side of it. I'm just going to be quite tunnel visioned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think social media is going to be here for a long time, if not probably forever.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
massively.
As long as we live, because that is technically our forever. But do you reckon there's ever going to be a point where it fades away to the point where people don't have to feel like they have to impress? The girls don't feel like,
No.
I need to go and get a boob job.
No.
I need to go and get a BBL.
No.
I need to go and get whatever else. I need to go and get a hair transplant for lads or whatever.
Yeah.
Like lip fillers, everything. Like there's just all sorts of things.
It will only progress to get worse.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I grew up and social media just becoming a thing. Like, I was in, God, it's making me feel old now. What was this? Like 2010. 2010 was like the highlight of like social media, where social media was really coming into its own. I think it was like 2009. Instagram came around and stuff like that. And I just remember, like, I don't know if you can remember like some of the cringy stuff that was going around at the time. And it was this like kind of, even like on YouTube, for example, like, if anyone remembers Ray William Johnson and stuff like that, where it's like the funny skits and stuff like that, where it's like you see these random videos are just happening. And, it's like even Facebook back when it started was hilarious. Like you could see some of these comments where it's like, oh, I'm having such and such an issue. And people would just mansplain every single grueling detail about something that's going on in their lives, because they feel like, they need to project it. And I think in a sense it's so horrible that, these people didn't really have like a social outlet, or like people, genuine people in their lives who actually cared enough about them to actually speak to them about these problems. It's like, I don't know if everyone's heard about, obviously, the true or fake incident about Amsterdam and the girl and the dad. Yeah. Well,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a heavy story, but apparently it's fake. I don't know if it is or isn't, but obviously we've heard about it. And, you just think, like, why would you want to post that? If that is genuinely real, why would you want to post that? Like, I don't get that at all. Like,
do you reckon that's one of them? Publicity, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Well, let's talk about concert square and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look what happened with that woman who was, like, doing the things she was doing on fucking... on there?
Was that, like, the girl with the lad? The videos,
but then there was tons of videos that were spread around about what she was doing and stuff like that. But then she was doing OnlyFans. Like, obviously there was stuff about in the papers about, like, obviously, like with personal stuff and stuff like that. And in that sense, I do feel bad for her. But at the same time, it did help her OnlyFans. I think if I remember seeing something about it, it was like within that first month or something like that, she got like 20,000 like OnlyFans subscribers or something like that. And you think, like, people now, where I can't remember where I seen it, but people are just saying that basically, like, what are we going to do in the next 30, 40 years? Because realistically, the following generations coming along, they don't care anymore about having like a respectable job where it's like, oh, go be a doctor, go do this, go do that. Obviously, we still have these people that genuinely care, but it's becoming less and less in the population. Like, I don't know from your background being in schools and same as me being in the schools, like when I was a teaching assistant, but I had a girl who was in the class and she turned around and was like, I'm not arsed, sir. I don't care what you're telling me about this English. I don't care, because all I'm doing as soon as I turn 18, I'm doing OnlyFans. Like, how
she's a kid and she thinks that.
She thinks because it's an easy ride.
Yeah.
And it's mental to think now this is the mentality of people, where it's like, you got like drug runners and like people who want to do OnlyFans and stuff like that. They want the easy route. And it's like, same with like people want to do TikTok as a career. And I think that's great. Like, you know what I mean? If you want to be a digital creator and think of like ideas and stuff like that and something that's going to help you and maybe help others around you, great, amazing. But you've got to remember then, when you get to that point, and if you do make it, because not everyone makes it, it is a very difficult industry. Like, for example, if you're an actor, or football and stuff like that, they're very difficult industries. And you, as much as you can have talent and skill, at the same time, you do need to have those connections.
Yeah.
And, it's just crazy, like, how coming generations, it's all about, but, thankfully, there are starting to be some more better trends that are happening now. So it's like, people are like, this hookup culture of thing, it's still there, but it's nowhere near as rife as it was, like, I think it's more to the fact that it's kind of like it's becoming more hidden, or more like, right, well, why am I going to go sleeping around if I can go pay £2-3, go see the girl that I fancy, getting all of her kit off? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's this sense of changing habits, and there's so many of these things happening. I suppose it's just because of the fact that we're getting older, I suppose. And it's just like, it's like when our parents said, "Oh, you're into such and such. Oh, it's such crap. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that." And now we're getting to that age now where it's like, oh my god, like, did I used to be like that? Like, it's just crazy. It's like, I remember like the craze about Pokemon Go. The absolute craze is like 2016 or something like that, and everyone was doing it. And it's just like, you just think about stuff like that, and you kind of go, oh, I wonder what my kids are going to be doing when it's like, when they're like that age. So it's just crazy to think of like how the society is with stuff like that in a minute.
Because that's down to us though, isn't it? Well, like how our kids are going to be, because it's how we raised them. So do you reckon the most recent generation of people just having kids, so it's probably people in the 30s, early 40s, do you reckon they've kind of in a sense fucked up a little bit?
I don't know. I feel like it's a mixture. Like, obviously, people talk about how, hard times bring strong people, and then strong people bring peaceful times, which then makes weak people. So that's what we're currently in at the moment. If you look at the world society at the moment and see how things are being changed and how things are, you think after World War II, look at how amazing people were and how they came together and helped each other rebuild, and so many people lost their lives for the greater good. Now you look at it, these people died for our good, and therefore their freedom to have their lives, they give that up for us. And you see some of the things that are going on now, and you think, why did they give up their lives? Like, there's some people who just don't care about that, and it's mental.
I know, because I don't understand, because like even like when you go into school and stuff like that, or you see like the younger generation on a day-to-day, none of them give a shit.
No.
They don't care about anything. They only care about their own little spaces and going home, jumping on the game. Don't get me wrong, I love playing video games and stuff like that, but that's what's care. Go home, play video games, watch a couple of films or whatever, but they don't care about history. They don't care about their upbringing. They don't care about the people around them. And I feel like if we don't try and get a grasp now on kids nowadays, that we're setting them up to fail, and then it's going to be a spiral, and then a spiral, and then a spiral.
Yeah, no, massively. Like, realistically, the first thing that needs to be sorted and addressed is the education system as a whole. Like, there's so much red tape and there's so many issues. Realistically now, as I speak from my own experience, the children have more power than the teachers, and the teachers have no power. And you go to any country in this world, like, for example, you go to Japan, look at how respectful the kids are to the teachers. It's a respected profession. You come to the UK, you're a clown if you're a teacher. You're an absolute clown, you're a joke. All you do is get insulted day in, day out, and then you expect to see, you want these teachers to keep turning up. Do you think realistically, like, what now? It's like we've been projected at what you start off as 30k now as a teacher or something silly.
Some places don't.
Yeah, some places
that.
don't. But this is the thing. So you've got this, and these are people at the end of the day, and they're being basically bullied by these children because these children now know they have the control and they say what happens and what doesn't happen, and it's mental now where it's just like. There's so many issues where it's like, realistically, there doesn't need to be. It just needs to be corrected. Like I said, the education system hasn't fully changed. Like, it's core credential kind of thing. Realistically, if you think about the school system, what really is it? It's basically prepare you for the future and going forwards. Like, and getting you through school and then leaving you off. That's it. It's not actually giving you the correct the skills and tips and things to go forwards with life. Was you ever taught about banking and all the other core skills that you need to live as an adult?
we don't get that. Like, I've got a big thing about education, and like I said, I work in it currently, and I love the job. I really do. It's such a good job to have, but there's so much wrong with education at the minute, and what we're teaching kids. Like, the education system at the minute was made for back in the day of what it is. But the way the world's going now, so we're talking about jobs. So let's forget about the OnlyFans. Let's just completely take that off the board.
But no, but like just as a general, like if you talk about careers in sense, you know, there's so many different careers now where, you know, the world's changed. It's not all about manual labor or anything like that. It's a digital world now. It's a different thing, and you need to adapt that to kids because the thing is, kids, you know, like we said, kids are sponges. They'll pick up everything that they need to do, but we need to give them the correct skills to then move forward with their lives and actually have healthy, happy, and rewarding lives. Because at the moment, that's not happening. And you see with everything like with mental health and everything like that, it's just mental.
For us to do that, though, with the kids, for say, for instance, we wanted to change the whole academic progress. Obviously, you're still going to need quite a lot of the same stuff in there because they are going to be basic skills.
Yeah, obviously.
But like, say you're a kid, they want to become a digital curator. We're going to need to get like completely new types of staff in, aren't we, for that? Because we can't have 70-year-old Bernie who's been teaching maths and history all his life coming in and go, all right, so this is how you're going to make it on an online business right now. But I feel like I've always had the thought of education at the minute is only benefiting what ticks around in society. So we need like all these manual labour jobs to keep going, and we're not going to change it because all these banking academics and stuff like that and how to do your taxes and all that, that's all for like the rich. That's all for your private schools and stuff like that, where you need to pay money to go and earn more money in a sense. But like if you get a public education, go and do your maths, go and do your English, go and do your geography, go and do your history. I don't want to do history, I'm not interested in it, but you're doing it anyway. Well, why? Because you've got to do it. But like we can never actually get a reason why. And that's why options, I feel like they should be like quite early into the school. Not like the last 2 years where you get a taste in year 9. They should be a lot more early where kids can actually focus on what they want to do. Because schools will probably work out better as well.
Oh, no, massively. Like, if you think about it, like, when I was in school, there was such a big thing about the arts. It was great. You know, I did drama and I hated it at first. I absolutely hated it. And I thought, oh my God, like, I don't want to do it. It's embarrassing. Getting up on stage, looking like an idiot, dancing around, all this lot. But, you know, it gave me a lot of core skills. It really did. Like, you know, like having that self-confidence and, you know, having that self-belief in yourself. Like, you know, for example, for me, the biggest show that had the biggest impact for me was when I did the Wizard of Oz. I was the Cowardly Lion, full makeup, outfit, the whole thing. And honestly, it was probably one of the most funniest days of my life, like running around acting like an absolute idiot, like literally running around the stage, being over pedantic. It was almost like panto to a level. And, you know, I loved that. And you know what? I had such a good time with it. And I just remember that the fact that we're coming to the last show and it was like right at the end of the school day. And so we was like wrapping up for the last one. Did it all. And I was like, you know what? And I was tired because we'd been doing shows all throughout the day because it's like kind of part of it. Was like, it's like an exam in a sense. But at the same time, it was like, you know, it was putting on shows for the whole school. And I just remember, I was like, right at the end, I was like, you know what? I can't even bother to take this makeup off. Don't even care. So I'm in my school uniform, walking around this like bright orange face as if I've got like so much fake tan on, it's unreal. And just people like, oh yeah, you such and such and stuff like that. And I suppose it's like, it has that nice like feeling is like, you know, I suppose in a sense, like you were commended in a sense. That the fact that, you know, you did something, you know, and you just owned it. And I suppose in a sense of these days where it's like, you know, where the easy paid things are getting commended, but what about the things that are, you know, things that are genuinely like really good for people? Like, for example, when someone goes and saves a life or, you know, they go and do something for an act of good. It's like, for example, me and my partner, we was walking through L1 and see 3 girls with like a bouquet of roses. And I think, oh, okay. And they were giving it out to people and thought, oh, that's really nice. Like, you know, we need a little bit more of that. Then all to see that it's all for a camera. Got the phone out. Oh, yeah, here's your rose. Why can't you just do that in general? Same as like when you're feeding the homeless. Yeah. Why have you got to put them out there like that? You know, this is a person that may, like, you know, giving out a rose to someone, they may be really struggling. They might find that really appreciative. They may get really overwhelmed by that, and they may have like a really really bad reaction to it, which then puts them in a bad light when realistically that was thrust upon them, and they've been put in that situation when they didn't want to. Same as like with homeless, it's just crazy.
Because obviously they do it like that, don't they, to try and get good publicity on social media to help them grow, to get more likes, to more comments, to get more followers. But do you reckon people are trying to do that because they can get paid off it? So do you reckon if we took away the money that you can make in social media, so you can make a career, social media won't be as big? Because people just want to go down that path.
Yeah, it's an easy payday. I'm going to be honest. A lot of people want an easy payday.
Yeah.
Realistically, if someone turned around to you and said, look, you ain't got to go into work tomorrow. You ain't got to go deal with kids and, get the insults and, having to do all the stress and dramas that school brings. But I'll give you an easy job and I'll give you 25, 30 grand a year. Everyone's going to go, okay, give me that. And I'm going to just sit on my arse and do nothing. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? Everyone's like that. But at the end of the day, what that brings, the hardship, brings you the experience. It gives you life experience, and then it gives you this sense of achievement. It's like all the little goals and stuff like that, and all the little struggles, all the little you'll have the nights where you'll sat there and you cry and you're like, why did I decide to do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? It's like, you get so stressed about it. But then when you think about it 5-10 years down the line and you've got to your goal of what you wanted to do, and you think, my God, like I did all that and I made it and I did it. And it's like, it's that satisfaction, and they say like money doesn't make you happiness, which for me personally, if you say that, money brings you happiness in the things that you want to buy in. So it's like, say for example, if you're going to invest it in drugs and you're going to go party and you think, oh yeah, this is great, it'll all come catch up to you. But if you do it and you use your money in a way where it's like, you're bringing it to bring you joy, it will bring you joy because you're using it in a way that's helping others around you or helping yourself to have this inner peace. Yeah. So it's like when people say, oh, money doesn't bring you happiness, it depends on how you use that money. Because you're using it for good and you're doing it to help you and others around you to level you guys up, then yeah, it brings more meaning to it. But then when you're being selfish with money and stuff like that, it brings this like, obviously, there's this culture of elitism as well. Like when you start using money in such a way where it's like, I'm better than you because I've got this much money, that's when it becomes like a really bad problem. And then you get all these like people who are coming out with really bad mental health problems because, they can understand that realistically the way they've been acting, and it's kind of just, it's all hit them up once. Obviously you've got other little situations and personal situations that will happen in their lives as well. But people don't understand that there's an underlie there where it's like the money will make you go there because you're able to get all these fancy things, and then it's like you get this like elite, like you get this like status kind of thing. It's just mental.
Yeah, because like the thing I always remember about money doesn't buy you happiness that people always seem to bring up. I can't remember who said the quote, but someone went, "Money just amplifies the person that you are," and it was like, if you're a dickhead, you're gonna be a bigger dickhead. If you're a nice guy, you're gonna be a bigger nice guy. And like I find that so true because when you see money going into the wrong hands, or power that comes with money goes in the wrong hands, like people change, like they really do. And sometimes they do change for the worse. But the way I always look at money now, and money doesn't buy happiness, I was thinking about it the other day, like what is it? For me, money just brings security and comfortability. It takes away so many worries. Yeah, I think that's why people do, when I go to Concert Square, maybe get themselves on video and then bang up their OnlyFans. Because if they've got kids and they're making a shitload of money off that, then they've sorted them kids out for a while. That kind of thing. There's so many ways to go about it, and I know that. And there's no answer, and there's no really one way to talk about it.
But the issue is, like in this, for example, how we just spoke about, like with the OnlyFans and stuff like that that's been going on. Think about it in the mental health point of view. What's going to happen to the kids of those now? Like who are doing OnlyFans, they're young now, living their youth and all this lot, doing what they want to do. Sam, more empowerment to you. If you feel like that's what you want to do as a career and you're good at it and you get money off it, Sam, go for it. But remember, you got to have some repercussions for that. Yep. Look at all the adult entertainers, for example. Yeah. We've got so many more adult entertainers now where they're like, oh my God, like now I've got kids and all this, and they're worried about the future. And it's like, not in a bit of a jokey way, but it's like, you've got kids going to school. Oh yeah, I've seen your ma so and all this lot, and it's like, you know what I mean? Think about that for their mental health. You've done it for their wealth. That's great. You've done it for their wealth, but what have you done for their mental health? You've ruined it because of the fact that now you're showing yourself around, and every single kid will get access to that. Like we can't. It's not restricted enough. Like with stuff like that. People, like young people, can get their hands on stuff like that because the internet is so accessible. It really is.
And kids are getting better at using the internet as well.
Well, this is the thing. You think about it now. There's like you get like 3-4-year-olds who just be sat down on tablets and just going away at it. And you think, you transfer that back 20 years ago, that wouldn't be like that.
No. Not on the slightest.
You think about it now, where it's like, I remember when I was in school, we'd all go out and play football. And we'd be out from, we'd get home from school, we'd get changed, and then we'd go straight out, play football until like 9, 10 o'clock at night until the floodlights came on. And then you're like, right, okay, we'll go back to my mates, we'll play computer games and stuff like that. And then either I'll go home or I'll stay at his or whatever. But, it's mad to see now where it's like, kids are so closed off, they want to play computer games at home alone, or they'll be on their headsets and stuff like that. Where's the personal interaction? Because it's like this alienation for each other, where it's like we want to care about ourselves, and it's all about me, and it's like, well, in the world and the actual overall of it, it's not, because that's where the problems lie. Because then everyone wants to think about their own selves and their own gain for things, but at the end of the day, the world's about giving and taking. In all aspects of life, you have to take the good and the bad. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that comes down to us though as adults and guardians and parents, whoever it is, uncles, aunties, older brothers, older sisters, that we need to start taking charge with these kids, don't we? Because, like, I'll walk into a room and I'll see, like, my nieces on their iPads or something like that. I think I'm sorry for the week.
Yeah.
So I'll go next time, I'll go, oh yeah. Like, there's like a little tiny thing just to them to go, and they'll go, hello. The head won't move. Do you know I'm there, but the head won't move, and I'll try and go to the other one. Hello. Still doesn't move. So do you reckon that's where we need to start being maybe a bit old school and just like putting our foot down a bit and be like, no, come on, off them. Let's actually spend some time together.
A little bit. Like, I would say, yes, there is a little bit of an element that we do need to go back to. There is some things that we need to go back to. There's some things we definitely don't need to go back to. But, like, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know if you've seen recent stories about the kid in America who was special needs, and he broke down because of the fact that he had his Nintendo Switch took off him, and he assaulted the teacher, like really brutally hurt her, really bad.
Yeah.
And, then there's this whole thing now about him going to prison and stuff like that, like for assaulting her and stuff like that, and he's an SEN child and stuff like that. But, it's been mad at the minute, where it's like, realistically, it's like even other kids, there's been other incidences of other kids where they go smashing up their parents' house because they took their phone away. They're so codependent on these things now, where it's like, it's their life. Like, realistically, let's be real. On our phones now, we've all got a bank, banking details. We've got all the things, the contacts for everyone. Our whole lives revolve around this phone. And like, if you lose your phone now, you are absolutely losing your mind. You're like, oh my God, like now I've got to cancel this. I've got to do this. Oh my God, like what am I going to do? And I suppose in a sense, like going back a little bit and having some of the old ways is a good thing. But obviously it can, I know obviously we need to stay modern with the times, but sometimes there's things that are it's priceless and it's classless, It's like a good suit. A good suit will stand the test of time. It will never go out of date. It'll never be like, oh, that looks a bit crap, that lad. You know what I mean? Like, it will always stay the same thing. A suit is a suit. And sometimes some things do need to stay the same, like, but within a creative way where it's like, it's being, I suppose it's like a suit being tailored to you. So then it's catered in the way that it's like, it's acceptable for everyone. But at the same time, it works for you as well.
Because I just think that I feel like we need to take back charge kind of thing. I do, because we're the adults and we're there to guard them.
Well, yeah.
And if we let them run our lives, we're not doing them any favours though. I'd be like, I've just got a puppy, and if he runs around the house all day and he pisses inside and he doesn't go to sleep in his crib when we put him in, he's going to turn out with bad behaviour problems in the future because he hasn't been trained.
Yeah.
We need to do that with humans as well. Like, we need to do that with our youth, that we're not like essentially controlling them, but we're giving them harder guidance in a sense where, no, you can't be doing that because this is the repercussion of that. And if you become an adult for that kid, like, for instance, and someone takes your phone off you in work because you're doing it, you can't go over and just lamp them.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's mad.
We're too soft in this world right now.
But like I said about like with the schools with red tape, life has a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
Because kids now know that if they say, oh, mummy's doing this or daddy's doing that, it can be, right, that's it. That could really cause a lot of problems, you know. Right, it's child social services, getting everything involved and stuff like that. Like, you know, it's mental. Like, you know, it's just children know they have all this power because of the fact that, you know, the world is thinking that this is, you know, it's learning the law in a sense, and kids are very more small up to it now, where it's like, you can't do this because of such and such.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, if a teacher told you, sit down, shut up, and get on with it, 9 times out of 10 you go, okay, all right.
There's always one teacher that comes to mind.
But then you get the one, you get like maybe 1 or 2, it would be dead cocky and be like, oh, well, I know about this, I know about that, you can't do this, you could do that. No, but that's like now, that's like on a 100 times scale now, where it's like, no, every kid's the same. Where it's like, they're all doing it. So they're like, oh, well, sir, I know you can't do this because of such and such in this like law and all this stuff. So it's like, you know, you stuck there and you're like, well, all right, well, fair enough. Like, but it's like, we're bringing it back to the iPad thing you were talking about. It's easier. Like, you think for all the parents out there and anyone who has kids, you think a screaming child, you got them screaming at you 24 hours a day, and you're like, oh, like, honestly, can you shut up? Like, honestly, like, as parents, you get drove insane. Like, I bet there's so many parents out there, and that's what it is now. So it's like, what can they kind of just sitting there and they're like, okay, so we're going to get you an iPad, and we're not going to be horrible. We're going to be like, yeah, you can have a couple of hours. It'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And then it's like, you know, it starts getting to a point where the child gets a little bit older and they're causing attitudes and everything like that. And you're like, oh my God. And, you know, and you see it all the time. And then parents go, oh yeah, well, here's the iPod. I'll leave you to it, because they know that it's easier. They're not going to get the stress. They're not going to go, you know, the screaming tantrums and stuff like that, because they're just glued to the screen like this and going.
Do you reckon that makes them bad parents though? Like, I'm not saying they are, but...
No, I wouldn't say it makes them bad parents, because at the end of the day, we are the kids and like future children, and obviously the one day, hopefully when I have my own children, is the fact that, you know, kids are stressful.
Yeah.
They like we all talked about how, like, you know, there's that ethos of, you know, we're the kids' teachers realistically up until a certain point in life. And, well, like I said, we never really stop being their teachers and their, you know, their learners and stuff like that. We don't, because, you know, they learn from us, from anything and everything. And I just think it's in a sense of knowing what will support, and obviously having that balance. I suppose, being that firm but fair. Yeah, I suppose.
So, because if I was to ever become a parent, at the minute I'm currently a dog dad. I'm going to say that in every episode.
We'll just say it's a training dad. Like, you know what I mean? It's like what everyone does. They go, oh, here's a puppy, and we'll see how you do with that. And then if you're a big boy, you can have a child.
So
but most of the dog dads will go, no, I just want dogs. Let's keep it that, because they know that as soon as that kid comes along, you're like, oh my God, like, now I've actually got to be actual mature and actually do something that I need to do. Like, you know, I'm literally, I think it'll be the most exciting period of my life when I find out that, you know, when I do have a child, I think it'll be the most magical experience I'll ever have, and I'll do anything and everything for my child or children. My partner always moans about it and says, oh, you know, you're only getting the one. I said, look, you've got twins in both sides of the family. My dad's got 3 sets of twins in his side of the family. I've got about 150 cousins on my dad's side. It's actually ridiculous how big my dad's side of the family is. And she's a twin as well. So then it's like, you kind of go,
there's a chance.
Well, there's a good chance it's happening. So I'm just hoping it's 2 boys. 2 boys, and then I'll be sound.
That's absolutely.
And then, I'll just get the snip, and that'll be it.
But I reckon, no, what we're saying about like the iPads and that, and like, we've got to take charge, we've got to be able to guard them and stuff like that. Every single child should be put into a sport or the type of exercise that they've got to learn, either a discipline in, or they've got to keep them ticking over.
I suppose.
Because when you went through your mental health stages, What was the biggest factor for you?
In what sense?
So what was the thing that helped you the most? You say?
I suppose there's a couple of things. Like the main one was obviously learning how to ground myself and keep myself grounded and present in the moment, and obviously getting rid of the bad habits. But also obviously with the gym, obviously that it kept me disciplined. But what I will say to what you just said is the fact that it doesn't need to be sport per se. Like sport is great. Don't get me wrong. It gives you all the outlets. It gives you discipline and stuff like that. But I think realistically, it's having something that you love and enjoy that actually will give you discipline. So say, for example, like obviously we spoke about being a digital creator where you're making YouTube stuff and stuff like that, that will give you discipline. Anything that gives you love and joy and you go, oh my God, I want to do that for the rest of my life. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's like a doctor, They don't go to doctor school to do all the doctor qualifications and stuff like that and go, oh, well, they're dedicated to it and you learn it. Like, and I suppose there's a mixture. It's like that nurture and care and all that. Like, it's always a balance there. But ultimately, like, as long as you have something that you are passionate about and that you care about, that will bring your own self-discipline and that will hold you accountable for everything. And I think that's something that we all need. We all need to be accountable for our own actions. And I feel like in this day and age and the stuff that's going on in the world right now, there's no accountability there. And, it just seems like the little guys are the ones that suffer the most. And like I said, that's how it has been for centuries. You know what I mean? It's never going to change. So, it's something that does need to change, but does it mean it's actually going to change? Then that's up to us as the people to do that.
Because like what you're saying about like us the little guys, like it just came to me as you were speaking. I was going through like back in history, where you go back to the Romans, you go back to the Spartans, then you go to World War II, then you go to the 70s, then the 90s. Obviously, all before all this stuff was around with screens and that.
Oh, massively.
All we ever done was either for the little guys train how to fight. Or you went out and you played football with your mates, or you done a sport, or you done boxing and stuff like that. But nowadays you can do jiu-jitsu, you can go and do badminton, you can go do swim. There's loads of different sports. But you reckon, even if you are going to go down the route of being a digital creator or something like that, and you do find discipline in that, is that still keeping us locked away in our own little space? Or do you reckon the discipline that you learn in that, then that helps you progress further in life?
I think in a sense it has that double-edged sword kind of thing where it's like it will give you the skills like with self-discipline and stuff like that. It will give you that, but obviously I suppose it's personal to you, so it depends on how you use it as a person. Like one person, like I said to you earlier about obviously the arms thing, where it's like we could do the same thing, but we could have two separate different outcomes to it, and that's just how it is with everyone. You look at some of the footballers, they've got amazing skill. There's two lads who have got amazing skill. They go thing, completely different football paths. One ends up in League 2 and one ends up playing,
Champions League
football, playing the World Cup. Amazing. But they still had the same talent. They still had the same thing. Like, so why is he not matching that?
Yeah.
Or why is he got so far and then he's not dropped? It all comes down to that perception and how people have had to live their life.
It's your mentality that you've got the drive or you don't. I think that's what it is. And I think you can learn it. You can learn to do it by being disciplined and by going to things and turning up every day and dragging
massively.
yourself out of bed in the morning. But it's a hard thing to try and do as well, because like today's day and age, where like you said before, people want the easy stuff. They want the easy paychecks. They want the easy life. It's easier to take pictures and put them on Instagram and stuff like that.
Massively, yeah.
But like, I just look at it and think, like, I don't even know how to say it. I think that we do need to start being a bit more tougher on kids, and we do need to start showing them that go and do this exercise, go and do this sport. Like, obviously, it's just my thoughts and stuff like that. Go and do this because you're gonna learn and you're gonna get fit and you're gonna get healthy and stuff like that, and you're gonna be more sociable and you're gonna meet more friends. And then when you learn stuff like that, right? But if you do want to go down that path, at least you've tried this.
Yeah.
Try that. Before you go and stick a fucking pepper pig.
So something just popped in my mind when you said that. I think realistically what needs to happen is having the accessibility to things and actually being able to not have the stigma. Like, for example, for me, as, you know, pretty much ever since I was like, in my teenage years, the main thing for me was that I tried so many different things, and I would joke. My family used to make all sorts of jokes and go, "Well, he's going to start this again, and then he's going to leave it. He's going to quit this, or he's just not going to amount to anything." And at the end of the day, what that gave me is an experience where it's like, I went around different jobs. I've been in multiple different jobs, and each one has taught me something different. And for me personally, in my life, I feel like it's such a good thing to go around and having the experience with different things and understanding how that makes you feel as a person. I think being able to have those experiences where, I've worked in the bars and I've worked in the dead scatty bars, and then I've worked in really high end, like, 5-star hotels and all that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all these different things that really have pieced me together to be the kind of close to be the person I am today. And obviously, people have said to me so many times where it's like, the big thing that I think about is the fact that how, in a sense of, someone said to me quite recently, it's like, you're the person that your child self would have been safer on. And I think that's, like, to me, that's so big and it's so profound. Like, it's crazy. Like, seeing so many people say it now and talking about it, I think it's just mental, like, how impactful that is. Because the thing is, I know to myself, like, when I was in my counselling sessions, for example, they make you do this exercise where it's basically like, they say, right, close your eyes. Imagine that you're back at the family house. Imagine that, you're there with your child self, whatever age, 10 years old. For example, they said 10 years old for me. And they said, what do you want to say to this person? What do you want to say to them? And I froze. And it's like, say that you're sorry. Say to yourself you're sorry. And it's not by saying it by words. It's just trying to mentally say it in your head. And then to say, right, say that you love them. I remember that point, choking, like, in my throat. I could feel this massive choke. And I just, like, started crying. I physically started crying because I felt so ashamed. And like we were saying about the ashamed stuff, that's my own ashamedness, that I can't actually say that I love my inner child, and that child, I felt like I've let it down. So then in my own self, that feels like I've let myself down overall, as, like, throughout my life. So, that then shows that there's work that needs to be done there. So it's like, we all have our own fights and our own problems, but, ultimately, we have to do them for ourselves, and we have to work towards that goal.
Yeah. Because I always remember the quote where, I feel like I'm banging up the quotes today, where someone said, never
Jesus Christ, if we was at university, mate, it'd be literally our references would have to be like about 4 or 5 pages long of just all these references. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Before I say what I was going to say, references, I was shit at in uni. Don't know why, because I copied them.
I was awful. I'd be like, right, here's a book, right, go to this, like, you go to those, like, websites where it's like, how to change this into a reference, and you literally go, right, bang, put a few details in, bosh, paste that into your Word document, sound done.
And I'll still get it back and they go, your reference and trunk.
How is it possible? Like, literally, I did it exactly how it's supposed to be done. Like, what's going on?
That's a bad memory, that.
Uni life is just triggering in itself. Try and be an older student. I was 23 when I went to uni, and I was first year of students.
That kid over there.
Honestly, you'll know what I mean. How stressful it is having a bunch of 18-year-olds trying to tell you how to live life. It's like, fuck off, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Still doing the GCSEs the other week.
Yeah, I know. Lad, have you even got your first pube yet? Relax. It's fine. Like, you know what I mean? It's just mental.
Yeah, but what I was going to say about the inner child is that you should never let your inner child die. And that's one thing I try and live by, like, every day. And I feel like that's why people call me immature. And, like, I can remember from, like, growing up, like, with Derek and that from school, and, like, obviously our whole group, I was seen as, like, probably what would you call me? The lad's immature one or something like that?
Yeah, you were very prominent with your dad jokes.
I don't have any kids either. Yeah, but it's like, still to this day, I'm not letting me inner child die, because I can look back and think everything that he either wanted to try and achieve or become, I've worked on it to in a sense, make little me proud.
Yeah. And then, like I said, you could probably, you know, for the things that you've done and the mistakes you've made, you know, you could probably apologize to him and just say, look, I'm sorry. I messed up. I messed up for both of us, you know, and it's quite recent actually, and something about like inner child and stuff like that. It's not really inner child, but this is something that I've seen. So I used to write a diary years ago, and I found like the pages from it, and it read at the bottom saying that basically it's like 21-year-old me. So I'm 29 now. So you think 8 years ago I wrote this, and at the bottom of it, it just says to future Rob, never forget that you're a great person, no matter what happens in your life. And although things have been rough and it's been hard, you are always a good person, and remember that. And still to this day, that makes me sad because of the fact that I still can't see that. 8 years down the line, I still can't see that. And I work on that every day to see that I'm a good person to whatever standard that be. But this is also another thing where it's societal, where it's like, I don't think I'm a good person because I've not got this, I've not got that, I've got this. It's like, for example, I don't drive, I haven't got my license, you know, I never could afford it. You know, I wasn't fortunate enough to have money to be able to, you know, save and do all this. You know, I live on my own, I pay for everything myself and stuff like that. And, you know, unfortunately, if I want extra money, I have to work extra hours or, you know, work ungodly amount of hours just to get a slither of something. And so, you know, it's just, we get there and we grind and we get there.
But that doesn't make you a bad person though, because of finances and stuff like that. That means you're still figuring out. So you're currently in a job at the minute, but you know what you want to do and you're working towards that. And you go to the gym because then you can learn more about the body. You're keeping yourself fit. So that's you being grateful towards yourself.
I don't know about that today. Like literally, like I think the last couple of days, we've all had a good couple of Mackies. I've definitely been stress eating a few bits here and there.
But is
like,
that not self-care?
Chicken meals is my life. Like literally, I thought it was absolute gobshite behaviour. They put the price up to like nearly £2 for a fucking chicken meal. I'm like, what's going on? Like literally, you think a year ago chicken meals were like 99p. Now they're like £2. Like what's going on? Like, Mackey's letting me down. You know, when cheap meals used to be nice and cheap. Now cheap meals are getting way too expensive.
So it was a cheap cheat into an expensive one. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Like I'm saying all that, that's not you being a bad person to yourself though. Like that's the wrong way to think about it, if I had to be point blank with you. That's just you. You just haven't got something just yet, but that just comes with money.
No, like obviously, you know, like this is like my trauma and stuff like that. And you know, if I'd be quite honest, you know, I grew up. I love my family. Don't get me wrong. I love them to pieces, and you know, they raised me. And my mum did the best that she could with what she had.
Yeah.
You know, and that was pennies sometimes, and you know, trying to rub two pennies together and see what happens. You know, and you know, I'll always love and respect her for everything that she's done for me. But at the same time, the trauma of what's gone on in my family and the things that have like happened to me and happened to my family members and stuff like that, you know, as an individual thing, you know, it changes people and how they perceive things and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes, and quite a lot when I was growing up, they were very negative, very, very negative about things. And we used to joke about it in a sense where it's like we joke, but ultimately it had negative undertones to it. So, you know, you do start to then say, well, yeah, maybe I'm not worth that. Maybe, you know, I'm not good enough for that or something like that. And, you know, it's something that I'm learning to get past and to get through that, because it is once you learn that as a child and growing up, that, you know, realistically, you feel like you're never going to amount to anything and you're not good enough, then, you know, it takes a long time, especially when you get to an adult where then those are so imprinted in your head. It's very hard to unlearn. And, you know, and some people will say that, they'll go, oh, Rob, you're so negative. And it's like, no, I just try and hope and look at the worst case scenario in any situation, which is bad enough as it is, like, you know, to see the worst and everything. But, you know, in my head at the minute, it's like, look at the worst case scenario and then kind of go, oh, well, it actually didn't turn out that bad. You know, I like to call it being a realist. Most people call it being negative. But
is it a coping mechanism for yourself?
Yeah, I think personally it's a coping mechanism. It's like, you know, if it's better than what happened or how it turned out, say for example a situation went wrong, and I'm thinking of the worst way it's going to react and how it's going to happen. but then it doesn't actually react and happen that way, I go, oh, well, that's a small win.
So it leaves you better off in the sense and happier because you never got to that point.
Yeah, well, it's like in the sense of being humble about things. Like, you know, people go, oh, you know, you look in great shape, you got this, you got that, and I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy. I'm just a regular guy like everyone else. I'm average looking, and just average in every way. And I know that people go, oh, well, you should be more confident, more be thingy about it. But I also have always seen what that ego does to people, and being like, oh, I'm a big massive lad, all this lot. And, you know, but the thing is that then brings light onto, you know, there's some really nice people that are, like in everything, there's always the nice people type of thing. So it's like bodybuilding, for example, there's some really lovely people, and they care about you and they will love and support you. But at the same time, in that industry at the minute, it is so catty and awful. It's like, it's unreal. It's mind-blowing to see like how, you know, how some of that's coming about, and that it's literally just crazy.
But do you reckon that comes down to, obviously, as you said, we all go through different trauma, we all deal with it in different ways. You've got like your own coping mechanisms and that. But do you reckon because we're always so competitive with other people, so bodybuilders, loads of people go to the gym because some people want to be bodybuilders, some people want to do it casually, but they go, I'm not as big as him because of his legs and I've got little skinny things or whatever. So we constantly put up these walls and barriers that makes us feel worse about ourselves. But don't you think that that's why we go to them places, so we can get past all stuff like that? And that's why we go to the gym, to be able to work on it. And that's why we have our down days, so then we can appreciate our better days. And when it comes to your coping mechanisms and stuff like that, that you need to start being a bit more just open. If so, someone goes, oh, Rob, do you know what, lad? You're looking in good shape, or lad, that was a boss squat. That, you know, but you can go,
you know
just
what?
go. Tyler, nice one. That's what you have to do. Just thanks, mate.
See, I'll tell you a funny story that happened quite recently. I spoke to you over a voice note about this one.
Yeah.
Basically, at the moment, I'm training in a commercial gym, because we was talking about how like you feel good and you know you see. So I was walked in the gym. I was in a vest, and I caught myself in the mirror, and I thought, you know what, I look all right today. I thought I looked okay, decent. I was like, you know, a little bit here and there. And then I've got my headphones in, not playing any music, because I'm like grabbing all my stuff to go home. And this lad, he probably must have been in his late 40s or something like that, grey in hair, dead skinny. And, you know, all he turns around in his most scalliest accent. I'm not going to try and do it because, honestly, it would make me look like an absolute tool. But basically, he was just kind of going on about, like, how, you know, oh, there's so many, like, lads in here who think they're massive and think they're bad and all this lot. No. It's like, oh, well, if I show them bad, I'll show them bad and all this lot. And I'm like, lad, you're in your late 40s. And you're talking as if, like, you know, you've just been absolutely butthurt by something. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, I couldn't believe the reaction he was giving. And I just kind of had to just laugh and walk away. I just couldn't believe, like, how to get reacted because of the fact that, you know, someone's working hard and they've just kind of just looked in the mirror and gone, oh, yeah, you know. But it's kind of a crazy thing where, you know,
it's insecurities that
but
probably does stem from childhood stuff, and you've never dealt with it.
Yeah,
I think
massively.
that's the only way to really
obviously, you got to remember, like, from men's mental health point of view, men do not go and seek the help. You know, we're in that changing period. I'd say we will be in this changing period for quite some time. It's getting better, and it is helping men a lot more to get there. But we are in the infancy of challenging and tackling the problem that is with men's mental health, because obviously breaking down that barrier of, oh, you're a pussy if you go talk about your feelings, or you're talking about that, or, you know. I remember, for example, I had a conversation with a lad, and this was, bearing in mind, this was after I had my child aborted. It was about a month or so, probably maybe about 2 months after it happened. And it was still, I was really still struggling with it, like really struggling with it, because there was just a lot of issues that caused, and it destroyed the relationship because of it. And, you know, I just remember sitting there and he's going, this lad just comes up to me and says, what's wrong with you? So, I'm just still thinking about it, like, with everything that's gone on, and obviously it's still really playing on my mind. It's still very fresh, and, I'm struggling. He literally just turned around and said, look, stop being a pussy, get on with it. We're at work, get on with it. Like, you know what I mean? We all have our problems, just get on with it. And it's like, yeah, that's fair enough. We all have our own problems, but at the end of the day, we all have to be treated with some level of respect and understanding and empathy. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't have enough empathy for each other, and this alienation and stuff like that. That makes it so much worse to then have empathy, because obviously you're only thinking about yourself.
Well,
So
there's got to be a fine line, though, whether it has. We can't always be soft with people, kind of thing. So if someone is having a bit of a down day, kind of thing, or someone's going through a bit of a problem, what if they're just dwelling on it too much? Obviously, it might be a bit hard to tell, but like, do you reckon you can find that fine line between I've got to kind of be a bit stern with them, well, not stern, but I've kind of got to be a little bit laddie with him right now, like come on.
I suppose it's the way that you interact with it.
Yeah.
If you turn round to a lad and say, stop being a fucking pussy, get on with it, kind of in a stern way, that's not going to do anything. If you say to him, right, come help me with this, come get these barrels in. Like, it's like, so working on a bar at the time. It's like, look, I know you're, if he turned around and said, oh, I know you love, like, I know you're a strong lad. Come get these barrels for me. Come do this. You know what I mean? It's a different... What's the best way to explain it? It's like a different tactic in a sense. It's using it in a way where it's like using it as a...
It's knowing the pace. So the way I try and basically try and explain it for you, the way I do it with the kids, you've got to know the person. You've got to know how they react to different things, different tone of voices, different types of language. And I don't mean like English, Spanish, French. I mean like the actual words that you use, the language that you use towards them, that gets a reaction out of them. So I always remember Wayne Rooney was speaking about Man United, and there was one point where it was half time and Ferguson was shouting at Nani and someone else, and he was going, stop getting with the ball, stop fucking dribbling with it, and stop going this way with it, and like that, when they were like, it weren't me, but he was indirectly saying it to Wayne Rooney, because he knew he'd get a reaction out of Rooney, because he knew how to speak to them for him to react. So if you came on over to your mate and went, lads, stop being a bitch and get up, come and move these barrels, he'd be like, no, that kind of thing. But you're like, come on, need to move these first, then we'll talk, kind of thing. Or come over, we'll do it as we go. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
It's kind of like it gets you to not forget the problem, but it gets you back. It's like you do drift, and when you do have these traumas and you have these problems and stuff like that, you do tend to drift. You do kind of go into your own little world, and you do. Like everyone does. Like, if you've had a problem and stuff like that, you'll kind of go, oh, and you just be like, and you're just like, sometimes you do need just someone to ground you back, and that's, and I think like a lot of people do need that sometimes. Like, I know there's been so many times where I've kind of drifted, and I'm like, oh, and sometimes it's the people that have literally came in and gone, right, come do this, we're going to go do this. And then it's like, realistically, I think, well, actually, it's not really much of a problem. Like, sometimes it can be such minute things that my brain gets clouded with, and someone comes over and says, look, come on, let's go do this. And then realistically, and they've indirectly, not even really knowing that they've helped me actually get rid of the problem. Like, they've made me stop thinking about it. Because like I said, I'm an overthinker, like massively, like honestly, like I've got like such a, it's like today, even like for example today, I left my flat, and honestly, I have such an OCD in the sense where it's like I push my door down 4 times. Like, this is how bad it is. So I press it down 4 times and make sure it's locked.
Yeah.
And I walk away and I'll have a moment, and I'm like, I'll get to the corner just before the door, and I'm like, did I lock that? Did I actually lock that? And then I have to go back and do it again. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And it stresses me out, because then you're like there for 5-10 minutes, and you're like, for God's sake, like just, and sometimes it's just those little stresses, and you're just like, okay, right. But I think like in overall, where it's like having the right people around you is so important, and having that right conversation and using it in such a correct way where it will help them move forward with the day. But obviously, making sure other stuff gets done at the same time. You know, it's that balance there.
Yeah, because like we're staying on the thing of you gotta know the people that you're talking to. So like there's friends that I'll talk to and they might be a bit of an arm around me kind of thing and like a bit more empathy. But I've got friends like Degs where he will kind of just be straight with me kind of thing. Not horrible, but he'd just be straight with me. I'd be like, lad, you're being fucking stupid right now. Because you know that the relationship you've got with that person, you can accept that off them.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I like that. I like being told straight. I think that helps me a lot more than rather, well, you know, like, it's a loss kind of thing or whatever, or, you know, she's lost a good one there. I'd rather someone come over and go, lad, you're being fucking stupid. It is what it is. You're going to deal with it? Yeah or no? Either way, you're going to get on with life.
Massively.
That, for me, that works, that kind of way.
Well, it's like if we talk about like relationships in general, realistically, like it's like, say for example, if you have a partner and stuff like that, and you know you'll be in a situation and something will happen or whatever, and there's always two ways of looking at it, and someone said it, like I can't remember who said it, and you know realistically, you sit with someone and you say, what do you want? Do you want a comfort or do you want a solution?
I use that nowadays.
What do you want? Like, you know, and it's like someone even else said like, you know, 9 out of 10 times, if you kind of go in there and say, right, why, what do you want? And you say that, it stops an argument because basically you're giving the person the option to then kind of go, right, well, I need comfort now. So they're indirectly communicating with you exactly what they need without actually going into all this nitty gritty detail and cause an argument. So, you know, I think it's just like, I don't know. And in a sense, we have this social media and it's communication and people think it's actual communication when realistically, like me and you speaking right now, that's actually communication because we're actually talking with one another and, you know, we're feeding off each other's energy and knowing exactly like if you're like, say if I say something wrong, you're going to react in a way. And you know what I mean? So it's like, this is true connection right now. We're being able to actually have a conversation and talk and not like kind of have this fake social interaction where it's like, oh yeah, this, that and the other. Because at the end of the day, if you send someone a text, you ain't going to see the real reaction to it. You may say something that's offensive to them and you're not going to see that as a thing. So you're just going to carry on doing it. And then, you know, you meet them and you see them in person, they're like, whoa, go away. And it's like, you know, it's crazy.
Because we're just a thing, we are a thing of nature. That's always what we are. Humans have been around for thousands of years. And technology that's come in and how we communicate normally now by phones, emails, landlines, whatever else that you want to say, that's a small percentage of our humanity. But us coming together and having like a connection and needs to bounce off each other, that's like a natural thing for us.
Well, yeah, that's
how like animals do it. Yeah. Animals still do all stuff like that. But we've now changed to, we're going to send someone an email, we're going to talk back and forth and that, or we're going to go on Skype. And even though it might be face-to-face and people feel that's more personal, it's still not as personal as what it could be.
Oh, yeah. Like, massively. Like, at the end of the day, it's... I suppose, in a sense, it's depersonalizing things. And obviously... You know, like, for example, how kids now, you know, they'll play, like, 18 over games. Like, don't get me wrong, like, we've all done that where, you know, we've all played San Andreas and stuff like that when we were young, way too young to be playing it, you know, like, prostitutes being ran over and all sorts, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's now brought up to that point now where we're all very desensitized to things. And, you know, not many things will shock us now. Like, even as like, you know, people in their 30s now, you know, we were in that weird generation where it's like, we were the first to fully use technology. Like, fully, like, as in, like, you know, like, as in the level of it is now. Yeah. Like, if you were to compare, like, what we had when we were kids to now, is like absurd. Like, you think in 20 years how much things have changed. Like, you know, things have gone out of fashion, come back into fashion and stuff like that. It's like apparently Furbies are the thing again now, apparently.
What?
Furbies?
What's Furbies?
So the Furbies, those like weird little gremlin looking things, the little furball things. They were like a thing in the 90s and then all of a sudden apparently they're back now. But you know, you look at things like, we were joking about like the Nokia phone and all that like earlier. And, you know, it's like stuff like that. It's like BlackBerry's coming back with a new phone now. Yeah.
I thought BlackBerry got shut down.
Well, the thing is, that's what I thought, but I think it just like got down to a point where not many people were buying it, but now they've reinvented themselves. Basically, they're like, oh, we think we'll try and
get me back on BBM.
Yeah,
Still
you know,
remember me pin.
you know, if you like me, 079, you know that, lot. But yeah, it's mad. It really is. Just mad how the world is.
How much further do you reckon technology is going to take us, though?
Well,
And yeah, how much further is technology going to take us? And the way that the world is currently going at the minute, so the world's a lot more sensitive, but everyone's a lot more open to mental health right now. So technology taking us further, sensitive world, more open to open health. Is technology going to start having a switch where it's going to start working more in a positive way? Because at the minute, it's not really the best, is it? It hasn't been placed in the right hands or whatever that
I
you want to say.
suppose, like, to answer that in an honest sense, like, it's good and bad. Like, it will take us to places where we would never think that would be possible. Like, you know, there's, you know, obviously there's great technology at the moment where, you know, kids are being able to get 3D scans of new arms that they've lost and stuff like that. And I think it's amazing. It's great. Like, technology, like, now is amazing. Like, you think of, like, you know, there's parents out there that have had to have their limbs removed and stuff like that, and they've never been able to do these things. And, you know, now kids have a chance of having, like, a life where it's like they're fully accessible to things. You know, you think about, like, accessible cars and stuff like that now. Like, there's so many things of technology which is great and amazing. But like I said, at the end of the day, when technology is put in the good hands of people that generally want to do good for the world, it gets made and used to such a good extent. You put it in the wrong hands, it changes
That's
things.
where the problems end up coming down.
So, you know, it all comes with a good and a bad. But at the end of the day, it's not going to change. It's not going to go anywhere. And, you know, like I said, it's going to make us have longer lives. Like, you know, there's already a study where it's probably a load of BS, to be honest. Like, I've not seen any, like, actual factual thing, but it's like, you know, kids now, like, are being born now, they're going to be living a lot longer than thing. But I have my own moral on it where it's like, realistically, what's the point of living longer if you don't have a quality of life?
Yeah, because
checking
technology, because we all know how good AI is already, and hasn't been around that long. Give it 10 years, 20 years, and it could be scary how good it is, but also how much of our lives it could take. So,
massively.
Like types of jobs and all that. Like, imagine, like, the jobs that are going to be lost, like the labour jobs, the teachers, uni lecturers, could be doctors, it could be something as, like, restaurant workers, it could be doormen, it could be loads of personal trainers. Do you reckon we're going to start losing a lot of jobs? We're going to start becoming a world full of wallies, where we're all floating around in these things?
We're already a bunch of wallies anyway. It's just how the human race is. We are, like, we're just silly, but we're silly and weird in our own way. You know, we have good people that do good things, and we have really bad people that do really bad things. You know, you're never going to be able to change that because it's human nature. You know, it just is what it is. People are going to act the way they act. You know, obviously there's the nurture nature thing and all that, but, you know, ultimately that is just how it is. And, you know, there's no way that you can physically change that, because realistically you'd have to just completely reshuffle the whole thing, and, you know, that's not going to happen overnight. You know, it's something that we just have to learn to adapt and actually give the skills and the tools that's needed. It's like, if anyone's seen Afterlife, you know, there's the woman in it, and she says, you know, old men plant trees that they know they're never gonna see the shade of. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what we're gonna have to do one day in our lives. We're gonna plant the seed for a future generation and see the fruits of that labor come in some way, shape, or form. But we'll never see that. It's like, for example, we were just saying then about, like, how, you know, it will take jobs, AI will take jobs and stuff like that. That won't happen in our lifetime. It probably won't even happen in our kids' lifetime. That's a good couple of family generations away. Like, obviously, it's coming quicker and quicker, like, you know, an alarming rate, like, obviously, how fast technology has progressed. But, you know, realistically, I don't think personally, until we've passed away, our generation has passed away, that realistically, that those things are going to be seriously being as a common norm. You know, it's happening, and obviously, you know, there's, like, restaurants in Japan where it's like you get a self-serve robot that comes over and takes your order and then things away, grabs your order, then comes back to your table.
I'm sure Wasn't it the Chinese buffet?
I've been, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
one in Warrington.
Yeah, there was one in Speak as well. I got told the one in Speak also done.
Yeah,
So
it is sick. It's this robot that knows the whole restaurant and it
yeah,
just brings you food.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Crazy, like. It's coming quicker than you think.
It is coming, don't get me wrong, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's, you know, realistically, you're going to have people managing it. And I don't know, suppose in one day it will be more to the fact that, you know, you maybe, it should be more plugged in. It'd be like a plugged in world. And, you know, it'd just be more, you know, people will prefer to be plugged away and be in this fake reality where, you know, it's just, you know, it's something happening.
Make people be more creative. Because you have to invent kind of like new things. Because, I don't know, I'm just thinking like AI could do a lot of work for you. But would you think that people are going to have more time on their hands, like content creators, like AI software that can create new videos, new content, and people will just become more creative rather than sitting behind an office and being tucked away? It's just a thought, it's just a question, to be honest.
No, honestly, that's a boss question, to be honest. And you know what? I think what the issue will be, because of how the education system is and how things are, we're not adapted and we're not got the skills to manage that. So if we go into this procession of going, right, robot this, robot that, AI this, AI that, right, okay, that's great. And, you know, it makes life a lot easier and there's less error and things, which obviously, you know, computers still make errors. We still get the problems where, you know, if a computer shuts down, oh my God, like we're in this massive meltdown. But at the same time, we can't be too reliant on it, because at the end of the day, if you do that, you can have all these people who have no jobs. What's that going to do then?
that's what I was trying to say before.
Yeah, but it's mad though. But it's mad.
We are gonna lose so many jobs. Like we were saying before, PTs, doormen, restaurants, wherever there's shopkeepers. Like there's gonna be so many jobs that we lose to AI, and like that is the way that we're going. Like it is unfortunate. Like we've already got machines that can do a lot of work for us. So when I worked in a warehouse, you've got forklift drivers that'll come over, get the crates put them down. But in the more advanced part of it, they had a machine that went over, grabbed the crate and brought it down for you. So you've already got old and new. So imagine like when we get to the future. I think that we're going to start deteriorating more as humans as well.
I will say this now. I can pretty much guarantee it that someone had leftover fireworks. Literally, I generally believe that we're going to get to a point where mental health is going to be even more worse than what it is now. Yeah. Like we're getting the skills and stuff like that, but because of the rate of things of going, and then the rate of how slowly mental health is being progressed, I don't think we're going to be able to keep up with that, because people are going to have no purpose. They don't, you know, at the end of the day, we are creatures of routine. We need something that's going to keep us going. And realistically, how's it going to work then when you've got AI doing everything? And, you know, you've got all this spare time. You've got all these things that you can do and stuff like that. But ultimately, what can you do? Because the computers are doing it all for you.
Because I find like a lot of people struggle with mental health, men and women, and even with kids. It's when they don't have goals and they don't have purpose. Yeah. If they don't have anything like that, they've got no path to be able to go forward. So when all mine started when I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life anymore. I tried to go with YouTube and that just weren't working. In my head, I was like, I'm going to smash this. I'm going to be really good at this. And it weren't taking off. I was like, I'm not good. I've got no path right now. So that's when all mine started. Went to the gym. Had goals of what I want to do. So that made it better. And then it all then just got a snowball effect of better job, better life, better goals, better mindset, better health, and like that's where it just starts going and going and going. But if we get to a point where AI takes over, we're just going to sit on our asses. That's what I was saying before. We're going to become like a world full of wallies where they're all flying around on that ship and then, what is it, floating chairs, is it? Yeah, like they've got like no real purpose, so they're going from one place to another. Everything's getting done for them.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think ultimately we're getting closer and closer to that. But I feel like we need to have more skills in place, and we need to have more things in place before we do that. Because although it makes money and it saves people money, because realistically, any career that you have, any franchise, any kind of corporation, company, what's realistically one of the most expensive things that the outlay for companies? What? It's having that kind of having human people do the job.
Yeah, we are the biggest resource.
I think it's something like half of the outgoings is usually staff pay.
Yeah.
So what they're ultimately doing with the AI is saving them more money because they don't need people. So then they'll just think. Same as people now, they just go online, and then you've got smaller and smaller amount of people that you actually need to do the job.
Mm.
It's a scary thought. It really is, because obviously, what does that do for people's mental health then? Because obviously then not everyone can do the same thing and kind of go, oh, we're going to do this. It's like at the moment with digital creators, it's like, we've got so many like TikTokers and everything like that. And it's like, well, they're kind of all doing the same thing. You get a few niche people that are doing like little bits here and there, but it's like, but
it's so
people don't like niche. Yeah, people don't like niche though.
People like trends.
People like trends. It's like all the little dances on TikTok.
Yeah.
Ooh, and you're like, Belland. Absolute Belland. Oh, look at me doing with this whip, ma. Nah, like, really?
Was that you?
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's the fact then when you see it's like, parents trying to do it and stuff like that, it's like, look, it's all right, old man, you've had your time. Honestly, the amount of people that call me an old man, I'm not even bloody 30 yet. Like, honestly, if you had this in schools where it's like, I remember being like 25, 26, they go, oh my God, sir, you're so old, you're over the hill, you're pretty much like 6 feet under now. I'm like, fucking hell, like, really? Like, but then I remember when I was in school and we used to say that about teachers, and we go, oh, he's well old, him. It's like, oh, I don't see myself being that age anytime soon. And it comes around and it comes and bitch slaps you in the face so hard, and you like wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, like, and then you just hearing the kids going, oh yeah, so you're old, and you're like, oh,
I always remember,
I'm there now.
I always remember when I was in year 7, I don't even know who the kid is. I won't even recognise him if I saw him today, but he was in year 11 and he had a beard, and I'm like, mate, you're fucking old, you. And he was only 5 years older. So I can only imagine, year 7 now, looking at me and working on, say, you're about 40.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, fucking old twat, I am not 40. I am prime ages, mate. And then
I'm still young, okay? Yeah. I'll still show you how he's done.
But I can understand where they're coming from as well.
It's mad. It's mental.
But do you reckon, though, I like talking about AI, but no, we always think AI are going to do negative things for us. Do you reckon there's going to be a world where it's not negative? We have a more chilled life and stuff like that. It might not last forever and it won't happen during our generation, but we won't have to do as much and stuff like that. Like, could be easier.
I was going to say, do you reckon it could come down to you could record yourself? Like, say you're a teacher, and you could write like today's topic, and then like you could be in 2 classrooms at once whilst you're sat at home. Or you don't know, sat at home, but like you could be doing some other preparation for another class. You've already wrote up. It's the video of you on the board, or I don't know how it would work.
That pre-recorded stuff.
But that happened in
AI,
COVID.
if you know what I mean, yeah, it'd be pre-recorded, but the software would be able to just interact with the class.
I was going to say, because how it
business. Let's get it going.
Guys, get on my GoFundMe. Yeah.
How would that? The thing is, how would that work then? Because say if a kid asks you the question of like, oh, say, what does that mean? The AI would have to know how to answer it, wouldn't it? But if the kid would go, I suppose if can I go for the piss? Is it going to go, oh yeah, go on, Bob. Go for the piss. Back in 2 minutes, otherwise you're on detention.
That would be pretty surreal if that did actually happen.
Like, I don't know if you've ever used ChatGPT, but you could have a full-on conversation with it.
Yeah.
And all that's missing is kind of just like the voice. So if there's software out there that you can sort of just insert, like Siri.
Yeah.
It's just like,
the wildest one at the minute is anyone use the AI on Snapchat. I know, like I'm sounding like a prehistoric dinosaur now, but has anyone used it? It is actually unreal. Like
I don't even have Snapchat.
Honestly, you can have like a full blown conversation with it, and it'll give you everything.
Yeah,
like it is wild. Like and to think on Snapchat of all things, like I was like, what the hell? Like AI's been used in that sense.
Could that ever benefit you in a classroom full of kids? Do you know what I mean? Could that ever bring a positive?
No, obviously it's like
they would have to be at home for it, because if they were to do that in a classroom, there's no staff. Well, say if kids have a scrap, and it's just a computer there telling them what to do. They're just going to
You could just imagine some AI going, "Hey lad, just stop it right there." It's like these two kids just turn around and say, "I'll just carry on. He ain't gonna do anything anyway. He's at home or he's here, there, and everywhere, so it don't matter."
So yeah.
But no, like I said, I think personally, like everything will bring good and bad. Everything will.
Yeah.
And realistically, what is happening if you bring in AI for everything, you're losing human interaction. So then humans stop being humans. And what we were saying earlier about, like, obviously, is there ever going to be a time that that it's not going to be problems? Well, that's just a perfect existence, and who's going to be happy with that? Mm-hmm. Everyone's the same. Everyone's this droning around like droids. You know what I mean? That's not perfect.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's a miserable existence.
To be fair, the image I had in my head is like everyone's at the beach and like there's an AI robot or something at the ice cream van. We're all just chilling on the beach, having a laugh, having a few drinks.
Yeah,
volleyball.
like don't get me wrong, that could be a thing, but like obviously on the same spin of it, it's like not everyone can afford to go to the beach. You know what I mean? Like, in this day and age where everything costs an absolute fortune, like Jesus Christ, like Ben and Jerry's is like a tub is like what, like £5-6 a tub now.
It's still worth it though. Fish food.
It is banging, don't get me wrong. But like, you know what I mean? Like even just the simplest things like that. Like, you're starting, like you think back in the day, you go in the shop, got a £1. Like you coming out with like half the bloody store. When I was a kid, like literally you go in, obviously some scallies would be like, coming out of half the store anyway without even spending a £1, but, like you go in as a kid, you pay a thing, you get like 100 penny sweets. You know what I mean?
I remember stuff like that.
That was just like the best time. You'd come out with bags like the size of your head and you just like living your best life, and then your mum's trying to tell you, right, you're not going to eat all these. You're not going to eat all these. I just remember about 2 hours later, I've absolutely nailed.
Watch me eat them all.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, me and my mate were like one of my best mates from back home, and I wish I could interact with him more. Like he's doing his own life, and he's had his own problems and stuff like that. And I always hope that he's doing well in his life, and that he can do what he's doing and he's happy with it. That's the main thing for him. But I remember me and him as a kid. It used to be cups of teas, sweets, kebabs, and this is our diet of from the ages of 11 all the way up till about 18. This was my diet. Like literally we'd nail 4 bags of Haribo in a day easily, 6 or 7 cans of fucking energy drink like Rockstar and KA. Honestly, KA is still one of the most banging sweet drinks going about. Honestly, so nice. And then like you'd have like 16 cups of teas. Like, literally, we used to play FIFA. This is how bad it used to be. So we used to play FIFA. We'd start off with a cup of tea. And basically, we'd play it and go, right, whoever loses, got to go make a cup of tea. 9 times out of 10, it was me because I was shit at FIFA and I used to get battered sometimes. Like, literally, I used to get battered so much. And then, obviously, I got a little bit better and then, thing. But it was always literally after pretty much every game, we'd have a cup of tea. Bearing in mind, back then, I was having like 6 fucking teaspoons of sugar in it. So you think I'm having like fucking 10 of these, you know what I mean? It adds up. You got 60 spoons of sugar and Jesus Christ, like literally, I'm not, if I get away, honestly, if I get away without having diabetes by the time I'm in my 40s or 50s, honestly, I've dodged the biggest bullet in my life. Like, the amount of sugar, like, honestly, thinking about it now, how much sugar I used to eat as a kid, oh my God, like, scary.
To be honest, I always think that as well. The amount of sugar, I'm swigging Dr. Pepper and I always have, always will. I'm never going to give it up. I used to, loads of sugar in my tea, loads of sweets, loads of chocolate, anything that had sugar in, it was going in my system, like, growing up. And I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and she was surprised to find out I don't have any fillings, considering how much sugar I intook and all that. So I think I'm the same as you though. If I touch diabetes in the future, which I hope I do, because I eat relatively healthy now.
We're still going to pay for it in some way. We all know this. Like, it's like Mickey Flanagan says, it's like he goes to the pub with all of his mates and he gets to the 50s and then you see who got off on the most worst, who got away with it the best, who got away with their lifestyle the best. Because, obviously he talks about how, his lifestyle was like partying, go do drugs, this and the other. And, they're all coming out with like, I've got gout now, I've got like hearing problems, I've got hearing aids and all sorts, you know what I mean? I think that's like, in a sense, for us, I think that's such a funny thing with life in general, where it's like, you can laugh and joke about these things and you kind of go, remember this and stuff like that. And, you try and get away. You see how well you can get away with life, basically. See how well you can push yourself and have all these fun things and do all these things that are not really good for you. But it's when you get to those 40s and 50s and it really does start to catch up with you. So.
Do you reckon that's healthy for us though? Because like I know there's going to be health benefits and stuff like that, but also trying to get away with it. Like we know that it's going to catch us up. Like where we were talking then. And the older you get, if you're going to continue to do it, you're a bit of a dick for doing it.
Well, like I said, funny, I had a conversation about this, and it's like, you've got like 30, like, I'm creeping to those horrible 30s, and I'm shitting myself. I turn 30 next year, and I'm just like, oh my fucking God, I've not got my life together at all. But, I know 30-year-olds who are still out go partying and doing lines and, shagging 19-year-old girls and stuff like that, and it's just like, lad, this can't go on forever, right? The party does end. You can't keep doing this. They think. I don't know. I think everyone thinks they're Wayne Lineker now, and they can go out doing thing. You know what I mean? Like they think they can just go carrying on, and it's absolutely fine. It's not healthy. Like it's not healthy, and to be honest, it's a bit immoral, really. But it's just mad. You just have to, like, I suppose. It's one of them now where it's like you hit your 30s and it's kind of like, right, well, I've had my fun, right, okay, let's calm down a little bit. Don't have to calm down completely, and you have to be like a Mormon and be like, oh, well, I'm not doing anything with my life now.
It's got to come in moderation, hasn't it?
You got to look after yourself a bit more. It's like when you get up off the sofas and stuff like that. You're not kind of going woof straight up off the thing. You're like, right, let's go. You're now a bit more like, oh, hold on. Oh, the back's going a little bit. Get a little bit of a crack. Did anyone when they turned 25? Did anyone get that horrible back crack? Like,
my girls are doing it now, and I was just gonna say to you, since we're all the same-ish age, and like things are nearly 30.
You start seeing these things. It's wild. You're like, when you sit down now, you're kind of going, you're easing yourself in. You're not like kind of like when you used to, you'd like, throw yourself on and you'd be absolutely fine. Now like just like,
mine just cracks a little bit sometimes, or I'll do like a little twist, and I'm like, that wasn't like that.
Imagine this, my mate, so one of my mates from back home, he pulled his back from picking up a bloody tea towel off the floor.
Oh, like,
That's embarrassing.
How bad's that?
I can top it. I can top that. So a few years back, when I worked in Mackey's, my back went, lad, there was like no back pain I've ever had in my life. I had for about 2 years. I had to wear like back straps and all that when I worked, like tighten it to keep it supported with like deep heat. And all I'd done, finished the shift in Mackey's, went to the staff room, to get changed and get off. Everyone was in there, and I went to go and sit on the table, just sit on the table like this. My back just went, and I was like, can't move like that. I mean, for about 2 years, I had a bad back, just off sitting down. I don't know how, don't know why. Never strained it, no idea. And even at that point, I just started the gym, so it could have been because I had no idea what I was doing. I went to put strain on it.
Overstrain.
Yeah,
that's
but I was like, that is absolutely mental. So the tea towel story can get the fuck. So I sat on a table and done me back.
I like I said, there's other people that's done like, I remember one of the other lads who's like pulled his hamstring because he was sleeping. And literally, when you do that kind of thing where, I don't know if everyone does it, but it's like you turn over and you kind of like get into that like spoon position where it's like you just want to get comfortable because you're tossing and turning all night and you can't sleep. And then all of a sudden you move and you get that horrible twinge. Like, I get it. Like, the worst thing is when you're asleep, you're minding your own business, you're living your best life, you're like having the best dream ever, and all of a sudden out of nowhere your calf goes fuck you, and you get this massive pull, and it absolutely, like, your calf just goes absolutely to pieces, and you're there like you're kind of still in that weird like situation, like you don't know if it's real or not, like for those first couple of seconds, and then when the pain comes, you're like, oh my God, yeah. And then you're just there, you're laying on your bed with your leg up, trying to pray to God that this calf, like this twinge of calf is gonna go away, because it's like the calf cramp is like the worst thing, especially when you're in bed, and it just happens out of nowhere, and then you're there on the bloody thing, holding your leg out like this, like please go away, and you're there for like the next 5 or 10 minutes, just trying to get rid of it. Honestly, worst pain.
I think the worst one's hamstring. I hate my hamstrings being touched because I pulled it years ago. But like when my hamstring gets cramp or whatever, I could cry like a little baby.
Painful.
Yeah.
It is painful.
Have you ever like had like proper bad cramp to the point where you think this is it? Me hamstring, me calf, whatever, this is not coming back?
Mine definitely was my calf. Mine was definitely my calf. I was in bed and it was about half an hour and it kept going. You know, when it's like you get a cramp and it goes, it nearly goes. You just like, you at that point where it's like just getting relaxed enough and you're like, oh, finally. And then all of a sudden it comes again. You're like, oh, no, not again. And you're just there like, please just stop.
I've noticed when my toes cramp up.
I was just about to say,
My toes,
they
all kind of just go like together, and they kind of all just like cramp up, like they're all huddling. And I'm like, I just have to stand up and like go on my tiptoe and try and like stretch it out.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. I've always found that proper odd.
Well, no, you know what?
Saying
Saying about that, when you do that, and then it's like that ultimate realization where you start feeling it going again, and you're like, oh, no, not again. And you're there just for ages. You're just like, oh. But then you just like, you get to that point where it's like, oh, I just stop.
Little
Please
bit off
just stop.
topic. Going back to sleep. Have you ever suffered from sleep paralysis?
Oh, man, that's the worst thing. Oh my God.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I hate
Horrible.
that. Right, no, the worst one is when you've got sleep paralysis, yeah, and you need to go toilet, and you don't know if it's real or not. You don't know if it's happening or not. You like... It's happened a few times. I don't even care because it's facts. Like, it's the worst thing. You'll be sleeping and then you'll be like, oh, like this is a really weird sensation. And then you kind of start, the clogs start ticking. You start coming back to reality and you're like, oh my God, like, have I just pissed the bed? Or it's like, is it like, this feels warm, like this doesn't feel right. And then you wake up, you're like, shit. And you're literally up and going straight to the toilet. It's like, been those near miss moments where it's like, you've nearly pissed the bed and you're just like, Jesus Christ. But I suppose it's like some of the comedians, like the older comedians say, it's like now, the older you get, like the more times you're getting up in the middle of the night to go for a piss. It's like
that, I'm bad.
First of all, it starts off like, you wake up odd here and there and you're taking a piss and stuff like that. And then the older you get, it's like, you're up like 2-3 times a night taking a piss. And you're just like, I'm just thinking like, Jesus Christ, am I going to get to that point now? Because like I'm at that point where I'm in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, I need a piss. And I'm like, oh, I can't be dealing with this every night. You know what I mean? It happens quite regularly where it's like, oh, I need a piss now. I'm like, oh. And then you're up and then you're like, oh, now I can't get back to sleep. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, let's go get
hamstrings done.
Yeah, you're saying, oh, for God's sake. It's just, it's mad.
Have you had sleep paralysis, have you? Like?
Yeah, I've had it here in my Mars. I haven't had it in my current house in the minute, but I always remember one time, I was younger, so I was in like the single bedroom. And I woke up and you can feel your body wake and your mind wake up, but your body doesn't wake up, for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah.
So like I've woke up and I'm still in the exact same position like that. But because your mind's like so messed up with them, I started like thinking that things were there. Yeah. And I started going, oh my God, there's something in me, there's something in me,
Honestly, that's awful.
And I'm like, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, Mom, Dad, Mom. But I'm just like,
can't do it.
No, saying that though, when you do that in a dream, and you're screaming and you're shouting, in the dream you're screaming and shouting, but then you get like, your voice is absolutely like, you wake up and it's like so like overstretched and you're so dry, man. Jesus Christ. And you're like, have I just been screaming that loud, or is it literally the fact that it's thing? But it's the worst thing where it's like you're there and you physically can't move.
I was just going to say, it feels like a weight on your shoulders.
Oh, mate,
I've had my girlfriend next to me, I'm trying to nudge it, I'm trying to like bring attention, like I'm stressing like, help me, please help me. You have to just breathe, don't you? I've sort of learned to like cope with it now.
It's like it is mental. What was it? I read it was too much screen time and like your brain is too active while you're asleep.
Like blue screen and
blue
all
screen
that,
stuff like that.
Is it REM sleep? No.
Which?
REM sleep?
No, because I think your body isn't that much of a deep sleep that it comes then and your body wakes up.
Yeah.
I mean, your mind wakes up from a deep sleep. I might be completely wrong.
But your body's still asleep.
Yeah, so you're in... Is it goes REM then core or core then REM?
I think it's REM then core.
So if it goes REM, core and then deep, I think your body's in a deep sleep, but your mind wakes up and your body just stays there.
Do you reckon that's where like the hallucination kind of dream, like where you said shadows and you...
I suppose...
I think that's where that kind of comes into it.
It could be, because like what I said, I thought I was seeing something, I know it weren't.
Yeah.
But at the time, your mind's racing that much and that active that you think something is there.
Yeah.
So it could be interlinked there, and like where people might take like psychedelics and stuff like that, where it opens up that part of the brain.
See, my opinion, I think it's the fact that like obviously it's kind of that delay. So it's like you start seeing stuff like you did, and I think that it's more down to the fact that you are waking up, But the thing is, your body's woken up. Like, your brain is woken up faster than your body.
Yeah.
So then there's no response there at
Yeah.
all. So then it's like, you're stuck. So that's obviously... I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm no medical professional,
Yeah.
but like, my own experience where it's like that's happened. It's like it feels like your brain's all alert and it's awake, but your body's just going.
I'm asleep.
What is going on?
Yeah.
What is going on?
It's quite scary. I reckon it's something.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It is actually
Terrifying. I hated it so
quite
much.
bad, isn't it?
It's
But
honestly.
yeah, no, if I have it tonight, I'm coming for you, you know. Put it back
Message
in
me
my
in the
head.
group chat, lad. It's alright, don't worry, bro, I'm here for you.
Yeah, just because I wanted to say this before while we were on like going for a piss conversation. Now when you just go for a piss in the middle of the night and you wake up, you wobble yourself there. Does anyone get like lightheaded or feel sick? Because if you do, what is it? Because I get it a lot.
I think it's just a sense of grogginess because obviously you had to like. I suppose it's that sense of you've been asleep and you're trying to your body's trying to wake back up to some level. And like, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but has anyone tried to go for a quick piss as quick as humanly possible so then you can get straight back into bed and get straight back to sleep? Like, literally, like, you'll wake up and you'll go, right, you want to go toilet as quick as humanly possible so then you don't lose that, like, because you're in that weird, like, grogginess. And it's like, if you lose that, then you're wide awake and you're like, oh, and then you're going to take your hours to get back to sleep. Honestly, it happens to me so much where it's like, right, if I'm going to go for a piss, I'm going to be as quick as possible. Quickly, I'm like, quick, hurry up so that I can not lose that sleepiness.
Yeah, I
So
get
then
what
you
you
just
mean by
like, because then you sat there and you're like, oh, no, I've lost
But
it.
then
And it's
you
like,
sit down in the bed and then you check your phone and then you're like, oh, like,
2 hours later, 2 hours later, and you're like, oh,
5 o'clock in the morning.
mate.
And that's where sleep fucking paralysis happens.
That's the problem,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But have you
Mad.
noticed though, when you do go for a piss like that and you're like, all right, I've got to get there and get back straight away, it's the world's longest piss.
Yeah,
It just goes
the
and
worst.
goes. Like, there was a point when I was younger where my legs would get like a bit tired and I'm like slouching a little bit. I'm
Oh,
like,
no, like, honestly, I can tell you this now. If any bloke tries and tells you that they don't sit down and take a piss sometimes, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying. Honestly, I don't care. Like, if you sit down and take a piss, it's like when you're pissed. Like, if you're pissed, yeah, and you know that you're absolutely bladdered off your head and you know your legs are not going to help you out, they're going to be Bambi on ice. You know, sometimes it is just a nicer feeling. Like, honestly, I understand why, obviously, you know, it's a great thing for women. Like, you know what I mean? I generally believe, like literally, so many blokes go, oh, no, nah, I think it's quite of a pussy thing if you could just sit down and take a piss. Oh, fuck it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's dead sound. You just sit there, you're just like, son, let's get my phone out.
To be honest, like, there is time, like, I do that at night most of the time because when I burnt my foot, so I was cooking in the kitchen and I got hot oil on my foot, so I ended up getting like proper blisters and all that, like proper burn blisters. I was having to take codeine for it, and one night they told me to put aloe vera on it. So I put aloe vera on my foot, done what the doctor said, and it burnt. I mean, I don't think I've really felt that much pain before. So it was about 3.5, coming up to 4 hours since my last tablet, so I thought, fuck it, I'll take it, but I'm going to go kip. When I kip, I woke up, I was like, oh, fucking, I need a piss. Took myself off, as that is, but it weren't late. Must have been about 7, 8 o'clock or whatever, so I've been sleeping during the day, of course. Got to the toilet, started having a piss, and I could feel the pain in my foot. And so then I've had to like lift my foot up so I can take away, basically the blood rushing down to it and trying to take it away. And it worked. And then I just had to lightheaded here, you know, lightheaded. And next thing I knew, I woke up on the floor like that. I've whacked my head off the sink from what my dad's told me. They've come up, Lou, what's going on? I'm like, oh, what's going on? Like that. And they took me downstairs, put me on the couch. This was only like 2-3 years ago. So I was still a big boy, getting treated like a baby. And I always remember that happening. That's why I had to start sitting down when I'm waking up, because I used to always feel lightheaded. Felt it as a kid, then after it. And I always remember the one question that I asked my dad. Can anyone guess what the question is that I asked my dad after I passed out while having a piss?
Is this what puberty is?
Dad, did you see me fully naked? Like, that's...
And you said to me,
lad, did you see my dick? That's it. If you have this, like, Jesus Christ.
I went to him, Dad, just between me and you, like, what's my knob out? When I passed out, did you have to cover up? He went, no, you were fine. I was like, Thank God for that.
You didn't want to have that paranoia of like, he's like, because that could have been an awkward situation then. Your dad, if you had your dick out, your dad seen it, he's like, oh, fuck's sake.
You're
Dead
not
awkward. He's like, yeah, you're bigger than me, this is bullshit. Your man's definitely slept with someone else, definitely not mine. You're not my son. No, we've, like I said, talking about awkward situations like that, like, I think the worst awkward story for me, like in a sexual way thing of like stuff like that. Basically, I got with this girl and she'd been like doing a thing, but she did it way too aggressive, and all I've heard is a pop. Like, yeah, literally. And I generally thought she snapped my banjo, to be honest, and I was dead scared. And like, obviously it swelled like nobody's business, like Jesus Christ, like at least swelled like 10 times. It was ridiculous. So then obviously I've had to go to the doctors and talk to them about it, and it was just dead awkward because of the fact that they were like, right, so we're gonna have to have this this female trainee assistant, and I'm like, great, amazing. You know, I've got this absolutely swollen member here, and it's like, you know what I mean, I'm having to have this like girl basically full blown have a look at it, and I'm just like, this is the worst thing ever. And then, you know, the doctor turns around to me and says, well, right, you're gonna have to have a bandage on it, and I'm like, to relieve the pressure and try and get some of the blood to like come back into your body. And I was like, so what? I've basically got to wear a cock sock? And he was like, yeah, pretty much. She burst out laughing. I'm just there like this is my life now. This is so much fun. And so now it's just like, it's one of them where it's just like, still to these days, that gives me PTSD to like nobody's business. Like, Jesus Christ, like the pain was just unreal. But it was just the fact that whole altercation that had to happen. I had to go to doctors. It's like the worst thing. It was awful.
I think I've got a fear of like going to a doctor over like me bitch. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'd want to go there. Especially if like someone walked in and thought, you're heavy.
You know what the worst thing is? Like, obviously back home, like this is why I never really wanted to go A&E for anything, because a lot of my family members work in the NHS back home. A lot of them are retired now, but you know, quite a few of them used to work there. It's like, you know, it was quite surreal when I injured my leg. You know, it was quite weird because I went to surgery and I came back out. My uncle was sat next to me and I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, well, I'm on shift. So I'm like, so, you know, he sat with me and stuff like that. But, you know, anything of like, I feel like, you know, if you have like stories of embarrassment and stuff like that, it's like when, you know, when people go to the NHS and they've like decided that they wanted to shove something in somewhere, and then they have to go and like go, oh, you know, I need to have an X-ray and all this stuff. Like, what? Like, surely, like, it's just mad. Like, you know, obviously doctors must have seen so many things and stuff like that, and it's mad. It's such a, I don't know, I find it so fascinating that people think that that's gonna work and put things in places where they shouldn't be putting them and stuff like that. I think it's mental. Like, you know, like little toy cars and shit like that. You hear all these random things being put up there. Like, honestly, like working through these things, like working in various sectors and stuff like that, and you hear some of the stories that go on and you just go, what possessed you to do that? Like, seriously? Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like,
that's why I don't work in the NHS. I don't want to turn up one day and go, another one's been shoved up. Why are you back with this again?
Lad, why have you shoved that remote up your arse again? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Want to go to infinity and beyond that?
Yeah.
Infinity into your arsehole. Honestly, madness.
To be honest, I think we covered everything that you've kind of wanted to talk about. I feel like we touched up on a lot of stuff.
I was going to ask you something.
Yeah,
Okay.
far away.
I don't know if it's too personal.
Nah, go for it.
So before, you kind of touched on drinking habits and gambling habits. How are you getting on with that?
I'm a lot better now. Like,
Yeah.
I've self-barred myself from everywhere. Like, you know, I can't really gamble anywhere now in the UK. I've made sure to think.
How have you done that?
So basically, you go through like gamble care and stuff like that, and basically that can stop you from online gambling and stuff like
What
that.
was you gambling on?
Fruit machines. It used to be, originally, I used to play a lot of blackjack and used to play on the roulettes, on the live tables.
Online or?
No, in person. So for me personally, like, my thing with gambling, it was a social thing because of the fact that I'm a very, like distant person, and I don't really have like a close friendship group up in Liverpool, because obviously I'm originally from Leicester, and all my friends obviously, you know, they all have families and kids and stuff like that
Like
now.
introvert a little bit.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I never used to. If you're best to explain it, I'm an intro extrovert. Sometimes in certain situations, I'll be extrovert and I'll be dancing around like an idiot. Like literally, I went to a 60th party and it was an ABBA theme. I dressed up. I had like this silvery shirt on with some like trousers, probably like dad vibe going on. I just didn't care, and I was dancing around like an absolute lunatic, and I was living my best life. Yeah, I was drinking a fair bit of vodka and Baileys, and it did decide that it wanted to bring its re-entrance out. That was not fun. But like I said, you know, in certain situations, I'll be a lot more extroverted, and then
the gambling though, like so.
The gambling was for more of a social thing, where it's like I felt lonely. And because I didn't have anyone there to speak to and stuff like that, it's, you know, go into a social environment. So online gambling isn't for me. Like, it never was. Like, you know, I tried it a little bit here and there, but it's like, it didn't give me the same thing as...
Real satisfaction.
Well, yeah,
stuff
same
like that.
satisfaction, and obviously having that social interaction. It's like, you know, when you sat at a table and playing blackjack, and then it's like, oh, I've won. He's like, oh, yeah, well in, lad. And it's like, you know, there's that social interaction there. So that's what kind of got me to thingy more on. Into gambling.
So did that work hand in hand? The drinking came with the gambling. Like, you're both.
Sometimes, yeah. Like the drinking did become an issue. You know, if I'll be brutally honest, like, you know, if we were talking about it all, like, so realistically, last year I had a really bad issue with my mental health, really, really bad. To the point where basically I tried to jump in the River Mersey and kill myself. And, you know, it was no value of myself. You know, I had no self-worth. I was gambling all the time. I was drinking a lot. I was self-harming, like, on my arm. Like, you know, I've still got photos that I found that, you know, of literally, like, where I've, like, cut my arm. And, you know, it was such a brutal time, but it's like we said earlier, it's like, you know, realistically, if it's gonna help, I have to help myself. And, you know, I went about it and did everything that I could to alleviate those problems. So, yes, do I still drink? Yes. Does it mean I get rat-arsed? No. I will never drink to the point where I'm not in control. Does it mean that I'm going to still not throw up from it from time to time when I'm mixing my Baileys and my vodka? Yes. And that was...
A lesson learned.
A lesson learned. Oh yeah. Well, to be
hard
fair, I think we're never gonna learn those lessons. Like I remember as a 16-year-old getting absolutely wankered on pretty much everything and everything. Well, no. So fortunately enough.
You well past the park
this is the thing. Well, yeah. Well, no, we still did the parks here and there, but it's like we always had a mate who always had a house free all the time, so we'd just go drink there.
Yeah.
So, but I just remember having a house party and getting absolutely wankered, and was drinking gin, vodka, whiskey, rum all together, and just drinking it. And I got absolutely... The thing is, I remember from that night, I got that twatted. Someone full-on volleyed me in the face, like fully clocked me, and it was like there was a whole issue and altercation with that anyway. But like I was that pissed, I didn't even feel it.
Bounced back up.
I literally I was laying on the floor because I was that wankered, like, absolutely wankered, just laying there. And he's just come up because there was a bit of a situation and an altercation before that. And he's just took that as a prime opportunity to just come and lever me, and I mean like proper boot me, like literally as if it was like as if Steven Gerrard's lining up to go fucking Gerrard, bang, whack you in the face. Full on did that, clocked me straight in the face, and apparently I just laid there, just took it. That's how pissed I was. So, you know, I've got many stories.
Do you still gamble? Is that are you a casual gambler?
No more gambling now.
Yeah.
How long did you gamble for?
Years. Like, so realistically,
Did it spiral like from 1 bet to 2 bets in this day, and then throughout the week you've done like 15 bets and then got more?
It was more like I'd go into, so it originally started, I'd go play some slots. Originally it was more about playing the roulette and blackjack.
Is this in Liverpool and the casino?
This was back home in Leicester. So the casinos, I did do a little bit in casinos here, but not that much.
Yeah.
It's quite kind of a weird thing actually, because realistically they said that I was still barred, but they still let me in and win money.
You want your money, but...
Yeah, it was a bit weird that. But no, like I said, that started from, 2017, and there were like numerous things. It was like gambling was an escape for me. This was at a time period where, you know, I just had my partner obviously give up my child, and, you know, that really affected me really badly. Like, obviously, if we're talking about mental health in that sense, you know, in that in that reality, when a bloke goes through something like that, they don't get supported nowhere near as much as the woman does. And understandably so, because obviously at the same time, they need that support, because obviously they're not only going through it physically, but they're going through it mentally, and they need all that support that they can get, like massively. But for the opposite end, for blokes, there's no kind of
there's no support
aftercare.
system,
There's no aftercare and stuff like that. Like obviously, you know, you don't need the physical aftercare, but you know, if you're someone that was like, right, well, I thought that we were gonna do this, and you know, yeah, it's we've made a mistake, and you know, a kid has been the byproduct of that, but I was willing. You know, I was willing to give up everything. I was willing to jump out of uni, go get a full-time job, and provide. That's you know, and I don't know if for everyone, but it's like when you go into like that mode, there's like a switch, like parental switch. Like some people have it, some people don't, and I don't know. It's just a weird acronym for me. I call it as a switch. And once you switch that on, it never goes off, ever. And I think in a sense that's sad, because realistically now, I think about it quite a lot still. And to think that realistically my kid would probably be about, what, 6, 7 now. And, you know, that all came about because of the pressures of, you know, family members and stuff like that. And just constant pressure where it's like basically being blackmailed to say, basically, if you don't get rid of the kid, we're disowning you, pretty much. And, you know, I just thought, you know, that ruined the relationship then. And gambling started, and obviously other traumas were still there, but that then just opened it wide open, and gambling became a really bad thing. You know, don't get me wrong, I had some really good wins, and I've enjoyed it, and people enjoyed it off it as well. But ultimately,
would you say it's impacted the people around you as well?
Yeah.
That was my question. Literally,
sorry,
that was
I was not just because you said sorry. Sorry.
No, at least you're not
just swap seats, innit? We just have to swap your seats, you know what I mean? Yeah, it has impacted people around me, you know, and they used to get angry with it and say, why are you gambling and stuff like that. But people didn't truly understand it till quite recently of why. And even for me personally, like, I didn't really fully understand why I did it, you know, and it was only, you know, in the last 3 or 4 years I've slowly started to understand and realise that altogether. You know, I did it because I was, you know, escaping issues of my trauma from my past, from when I was a child, like when I was like 17. So basically when I was 17, I was groomed in school, and basically it all came about because of the fact that I was the only bloke doing health and social care, and I got bullied profusely by the women there, like a lot, and I felt very isolated, very alone. And this teacher was the only one who was like actually giving me any kind of attention and actually like speaking to me. And, you know, obviously that transpired, and then it ended up leading me getting sexually assaulted, which then was obviously, you know, pretty much from that point onwards, any kind of altercation or any kind of issue with a bloke, I naturally freeze and run away. And, you know, it is still quite a big problem for me, and I hate that it's still a problem, but I am, you know, I know that it's a problem, and it's something that I will always try and work on as best as I can. You know, so it's like having that understanding of your own self and knowing, and that's what I mean. Like over the last, like I'd say the 6-7 year period, it's been a lot more about learning about those things and going, well, why do these connect together? And it's all because of this connects because of this. So it's like, you know, I know it sounds in depth and it sounds really deep, but it's like the gambling was there because obviously I was in a environment where it was public and I was safe, because then no one could hurt me and
because you got cameras there.
Yeah, cameras there, something like that, yeah.
Anything happened, just
but then as well as it was a social aspect, because of the fact then it's like you're around people, you're not around people that's trying to hurt you. So it's like, you know, it's like mad things like that. You really do, once you really start delving into your own mental health and getting to know more about it, then yeah, you really do start to kind of understand it, and that's when then the real work can happen, and you can really start making a change for yourself.
Yeah, because when you done health and social care, it would have been 12 years ago when you were 17. And you said you basically said you got bullied off the other girls and the course because you was the. What did that look like? Like, because no one ever thinks a lad's going to get bullied off a girl. That's the way we're just brought up. We're told that we're stronger, we're bigger.
Honestly,
we can't have
so
that against us.
basically what happened was, you know, it'd be the name calling me a bender, calling me gay, and all this lot. And it got to the point where literally I would leave the classroom and they would put gay porn on my laptop. So I'd come back to having full-blown gay porn on my laptop. Nothing was done about it. You know, I complained about it. There was only one teacher who stood up and he absolutely had a go on him. And I always have the utmost respect for him for what he did for me that day. He basically said, you lot are an absolute disgrace for the fact that there's a bloke here who actually wants to care and actually wants to help people. And all you're doing is pushing him away and basically going, you don't deserve to be here because you're a bloke. This is a woman's only thing. But it's like, you know, that happens. Obviously, that happens in so many different industries as well. Like, you know, it's such this constant thing where it's like, you know, fair is fair, and it should always be fair. But, you know, it's just how the world is. You know, there's going to be more dominated in certain ways, and others, like hairdressers, it's more dominated towards women, and like caring and stuff like that, it's more female dominated. And then obviously you've got engineering, which is more like male dominated. But, you know, we're slowly getting there. We're getting to a point where, you know, you've got more women coming into more traditionally male roles, I guess. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's changing. Like, and we are slowly getting there. But obviously, you know, like I said, it's in its infancy, and we'll get there. We'll get there as a humankind.
Because where you said as well, then, like, after the sexual assault and then any altercation that you came in with a male, you froze.
Yeah.
But obviously, we've spoken before about we've been on the doors before. And obviously, I don't know if that's what extra cash, but what was it like working in that world for you? Because obviously, there's going to be a lot of altercations. There's going to be a lot of drunk people that want to fight, and you're going to have to be one of the guys that step up because you're there for security. You got to keep people safe. What was that like for you? Was that like a confidence builder in the long run or something? Or
I would say, like, obviously, you know, I suppose it's like in a sense of blocking things out and kind of going through it and just doing it. Like, you know, there's situations that we've spoken about, like quite recently we've spoken about, where it's obviously, you know, I froze in a situation because something happening so fast. You know, at the end of the day, things will, like, honestly, coming in on the doors, there are so many things that change so fast and happen so quickly. Like, it happens in the blink of an eye. You know, sometimes some people are going to react
quicker than others.
Instantly. Like, you know, some people might act instantly through experience and their own sense of, what's the best way to explain it? Like, kind of the best way of, like, diluting. So it's like, you know how we spoke about earlier, how, like, people have had diluted lives, so they're, like, not so sensitive to things. So it's like desensitization. That's it.
I like the way I do it in work, where we have to do a team teach, like what we've spoken about before, and you have to respond to an instance. It's having that own initiation to be able to react to something really quickly. And some people have it and some people don't. And I've got it at the age of 26, but I could work with 40-year-olds who've got a lot more life experience than me. That will freeze. And that's, you get some people like that, and you get some people who will freeze.
And, you know, realistically, like, you can as long as you're getting involved and you actually help the person, as long as it's not like, right, you know, you're taking 5-10 minutes to react to something. If you're reacting within the first couple of minutes, that's relatively quite good. You know, obviously, because the thing is, at the end of the day, you don't want to go running into a situation and making it worse, because sometimes that does happen. There's been plenty of times where there's been issues where, you know, something's kicked off and it's became a lot worse quite quickly. You know, because someone else has got involved and it just didn't need it. So, you know, it's wild, but like I said, at the end of the day, realistically, we need people there. So, you know, you need people to be in security. Like I said, it's a crazy thing, because obviously if you look around the world, not every single country needs doormen. Like, you know, there's certain places in the world that need them, but like, there's some places where, you know, realistically, you can go in and have a couple of pints and everyone be fine and happy and everyone go home and blah.
Well, pubs don't have them, do they? Really? They might have the odd couple that have got them through history, but majority of pubs don't have like doormen. It's only like clubs.
So or it's like, or like the nighttime bars where it's like, you know, there's going to be attracting that kind of attention and stuff like that.
It's the type of people that come into them as well. So, like, if you go back to pubs, you're going to have regulars in there that everyone knows. You walk in, oh, hey, Jody, yeah, I'll have the same. Like, from what I had yesterday, but you get different people, like what you were saying before, you get people coming up from the south that wear 110s. Well, why the fuck can't I get in this club and all that? It's only a pair of trainers. And I can understand why they do have them, but I can understand why places won't have them.
Yeah.
You can put them on the Mackies now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mackies is getting.
But
Mackies is
I
bad.
think, but it's
Kids,
just,
innit?
it's just the attitude and thing of people now, where it's very like, oh, you know, I don't care if you've got this job, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm better than you because I don't do this job and stuff like that. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, we all need people who are going to do the jobs. And that's ultimately the issue at the moment, where people don't want to do these jobs because they think they're better than them. And at the end of the day, what skills and qualities have you got that makes you better than them? Most of these people don't have them.
Yeah.
And I think it's mad to have someone judge someone from their job because they do such a job, because for whatever reason they're doing. And it's like, well, where do you stand to then judge someone for it? Makes no sense.
It's a lot of jobs are just stepping stones as well, and a lot of people don't understand that. And it's a lot of the youth that don't understand that because they haven't got to that stage. Like, for instance, worked in Mackies, worked in bars, worked in where else, but now doing a podcast, working with autistic children, want to start a clothing brand, want to become an online personal trainer. And there's people that I know that worked in Mackies with me that went on to become like an electrician. It's a lot of it is just stepping stones, but a lot of that circles back to like what we've spoken about throughout this. It's like the education system, how do we treat people and stuff like that. If the education system is different, people are learning to be different. If parents are a bit more on the ball, let's say it that way, with their own kids and not just letting them do whatever they want, then maybe they'll learn a bit more about respect instead of just, no, the world evolves around me, you can't do anything. If you want to do something, get me phone out and record you.
True. Yes, there is some truth to it, but at the same time, it's because realistically what's happening now, and I'm not saying that it's not happened since time began, but realistically it's becoming more and more prevalent that realistically teenage pregnancy, you're having teenagers who are having kids and then they're not living their lives, they're not having a life.
Yeah.
All they're having is living vicariously through their children, which then can cause problems in its own self. And, you know, I feel like it's just such a problem. Like, you know, obviously live your life, go live your life. Like, it's fine. You don't need to have children now, but like, obviously make sure that you have the education and sexual health and sexual education. But also at the same time, just be like, well, you know, go live your life, go enjoy it. Because the thing is, you then get that level of resentment because you're like, oh, I didn't get to do that because, you know, I had you and all this lot. And I suppose in a sense, like, you know, kids are having kids which then project the traumas of their past because they've never been able to go live their lives and understand why they do the things that they do. And then they're stuck in this perpetual thing, which then that could be projected onto their kids. It could just, you know, their kids then learn from that because obviously that's all they see all the time. It can just be a thing. So I do like, it's to a degree that obviously parents need a thing. There is like a sense of like, there needs to be a bit more tough love. But at the same time, you need to be, I know obviously there's situations that, you know, you can't escape happening from having kids and stuff like that. There are certain situations, 100%. And I feel sorry, and, you know, I hope that everyone can get the help that they need with everything. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if you're having kids so young, you're then going to have all those traumas that you're going to pass on to the next generation. So then how are they going to be able to be the one who breaks that cycle? Because at the end of the day, you know, you go through the generations and you see there's like little traumas that trickle through the generations. And, you know, you get one outlier who's going to be like, right, no, it's not that. I don't want to be like that anymore. And thing. In a sense, I feel like I'm kind of like that to a degree. Obviously, I still follow the cultural norms of my family where I'm a bit negative and I'm a bit moody here and there. But, you know, I actually want to have something over my life where I can say, look, I worked hard for this and stuff like that, you know, and be able to show my kids that, you know, not everything has to be negative and that, you know, they can live a life of love and actually deserve that love as well. Yeah, it's just mad.
How do you reckon we do that though? How do you reckon that we teach kids stuff like that, or we have young parents, to say the least, and it's happened for years, it's happening now, and it's going to continue to happen, where young kids will have their own kids. They won't have the experience, they probably won't have the education behind them. They probably will be a single parent as well, because they are just kids in a relationship.
Yeah.
How do we change that? Like, how do we give advice to kids for them to listen to us?
I don't really know. I was going to touch on something a little bit different. Like, there's a statistic at the minute. So this, like, our generation, like, I'm not talking about like our parents, but our generation.
Yeah.
Statistically, we're having less children. And I don't know whether that's because we're becoming more work ethic or because we're becoming more like on social media, so we're not being as social in present, like in person.
Do you
know
think?
What I mean? I don't know if that's just completely swayed the whole thing, but I mean, we are as a generation apparently having like less children.
More women are becoming less dependent on men because the world's becoming more equal. And hats off to women that they're now finally getting the equality that they want. But because they're becoming less dependent on men,
it's like work orientated.
Stay-at-home mums and all, you stay with the kids, they don't need a man, so they can't have the kid kind of thing. So that's where a lot less kids are now starting to come into the picture.
I think it's because a lot of people are poor as well, and they don't want to bring people up into this type of world because it'd be unfair to the kid.
Like, massively. So there's a big thing with
that. We're struggling a lot more now than we did 20, 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago, you could have a family with just one person working a full-time job.
And
nowadays, even if you've got two parents working full-time jobs, it's hard to make ends meet.
It is, because like your average mortgage is what? 800 quid? A grand, something like that.
700 to a grand now, something like that.
And like for some people's income, they could make 1,200 a month. So you can't even like get a house. And if you add two people onto it, but then you've also got to pay for cars. Then you've got to pay for whatever you need, your food, if you've got a dog, if you've got a cat, something like that. If you want to pay for your gym membership, your Netflix, it does add up. So that is also a really good point.
Yeah, like I said, realistically, if we were talking, you were saying about the statistic for generational and how our generation is with obviously, you know, not having less kids. Think about all the things that we've had to deal as a generation. 2 drops in the financial world where it's all gone to pot. We've got a housing crisis where it's all over the shop, going here, there and everywhere, where, you know, you think back in the 90s, a person on their own could buy a house.
10 grand.
Yeah, so not a problem. But now it's like, you know, it's ridiculous. And, you know, you get the older generation go, well, you just work hard. Hey, I used to do, there was a point when I was doing like 70, 80 hours a week and I was still struggling. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, like, and then this is what I was trying to say earlier about a work-life balance. I find it very hard to balance a work and a life because the thing is, if I want the money to do things what I want to do in my life, I need to work all the hours, but then at the same time, I ain't got no life because I can't spend the money that I'm making.
That's literally what we're talking about, isn't it? So, like, parents are having to just work all the time, and there is no, like, balance. So that's why, like, I don't know, the statistics might show that we are having less children.
And I think that's a reason why kids have got no discipline as well.
Because they've got no parents to be around.
The parent not being there. Like, realistically, look at it like this. Like, obviously, there are some statistics. I'm not going to try and think because obviously I can't.
I didn't want to start.
But the thing is, if you look between like a single parent background compared to a couple looking after a kid, you see a lot of differences. You know, you see so much, like, because obviously they've got both parents there. Like, as a bloke, having your dad there is so important. Being there and like when like just the sole importance of people turning up for you. You know, you go do a football match or you go do a drama show or something like that, and you're there and everyone else's parents are there and like, oh, it's amazing, it's great, oh, and you're there looking out in the crowd. Oh, because I've done it myself. Looked out in the crowd and no one's there for me.
Yeah, I was going to touch on
heavy,
that. Like, without going too deep, but like, I grew up without my dad, and you can sort of, when you go round to your mate's house and you've got the dad, you know that person's been brought up completely different.
You become envious. To a degree, you become envious because of the fact that it's like, I wish I had that.
Yeah, And I even see it with like my girlfriend. Like she's got a really close family. Her dad's a really strong like male, but like looks after the family. And I'm like, you know what? That would have been nice. That do you know what I mean?
Would have been boss. But it's
cute,
like, Dad, why can you step up? You did.
You
know what I mean?
Nah,
Like no, like if like I said, I'll be quite personal like about my dad. Like, you know, he was a very complicated person. He was, and you know, I'm not going to say he was a saint because he wasn't. He did all sorts of things and really hurt my mum and really messed things up with just in general, just, you know, just how he was. You know, he was one of those where it's like the party never ended. And you know, he used to work on the waltzers and he was a bit of a Jack the Lad. Like I said, he had his got blonde flowing hair when he was younger. My mum obviously fancied him. But no, he was a spinner on the waltzers. You know, he used to go, you know, you could chap all the birds. Like, oh, you want to go faster, love? You know, he found an attractive bird. He's like, oh, go on, I'll spin you faster and all this lot. And, you know, it was mental. Like, you know, I find that so nice in a sense, like a little bit aside off topic. Like my mum, like still loves the waltzers, and I like that, like, because it's like it's something that she has like a core memory to hold on to. But like obviously with my dad in particular, it wasn't particularly that great.
Are you still together?
No. So from the age of 6, before that, sorry. So I can't even remember exactly when they did because I was very little when it all happened and they split up. He was then in my life till I was 6. Then he disappeared till I was 16 because that's when my nephew was born. And then, you know, my niece was born in a couple of years throughout that. And then I had my accident in 2013. So I shattered my femur. I had a hit and run. I was cleared 12 feet across the road. Don't know by what, but it had to be something bigger than a car because of the amount of damage that was done to my leg. Which then we kind of did all that. And, you know, he turned up. He turned up for about, well, it felt like 5-10 minutes because I was high as a car on morphine at this point. Which, yeah, morphine is pretty good, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, after that, I said to him that I had enough and stay away from my family. We've given you plenty of opportunities to be a dad and a granddad and step up, and you just not took it and just leave us alone now.
Have you got a relationship with him at all now?
No, well, he passed away a couple of years ago.
Sorry,
no. Like I said, I was just going to go on to that. Like, obviously, you know, I had a very complicated relationship with him, and then for 7 years, I didn't speak to him. So from the ages of about, I think it was like from 19 all the way up until a couple of years ago, I didn't speak to him once. And I get a call off my cousin saying basically your dad's in the hospital, he's dying. So I'm in Liverpool, and this was at the time when I was thinking with the kid, like helping kids out with SEN and stuff like that. Even still then, I was still like, even when I found that out, I still stayed in work and I was still working. And they said, do you want to go home? And I said, no, if I go home, I think I'm just going to drop and I'm going to collapse. So, you know, I did that. And then, so, you know, it was getting worse. And it was in the time of COVID. So they were trying to tell me that I couldn't go see him. And I said, look, I'm his only son. I'm coming all the way from Liverpool. I'm coming to see him. Because, you know, this brings back some other trauma from my past where it's like I wasn't able to see my grandma before she passed away. She went away for 2 weeks when I was a kid. She went to like a respite hospital and she died. I didn't get to see her. Yeah. So that killed me. And my grandma, like honestly, my grandma is like literally was an absolute angel. She was a grouchy old bitch. She was, but I loved her because she just said it how it was. And she told me some amazing stories of my grandma and granddad. And just how they were, and I loved that idea. The things of going back to the old times, traditional. Some of it was really sweet and thing. Like I said, the funniest story that I always remember about my grandma and granddad, and I will carry on with my dad thing, but just every time we had a photo, she was dead grumpy, dead grouchy. She's like, I don't want a photo. So what my granddad would used to do would try and grope her tit or grab her ass. Every photo, so then she'd smile and laugh. So that's how you'd get the photo of her smiling because he's been a tit. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like boss little stories like that where it's like it shaped who I was. But then it's like with my dad, for example, he basically, you know, I went and seen him on his deathbed, and I couldn't recognize him, like to the bloke that, you know, he was just basically skin and bones at this point. He basically had sepsis, which basically filled through his body, and basically he'd been laying around for 2 or 3 weeks, just rotting away basically. And obviously they said to us like, look, you literally, we don't know how long he's going to live. So I dropped everything in Liverpool. I went down and seen him. I fought with the matrons. I fought with the doctors to see him, tooth and nail. Basically, the only reason why that happened in the end is because basically the doctor said, yes, of course you can come down and see your dad, because they generally thought he was going to die within
minutes, hours.
Yeah, not even minutes, hours. It's more like days, and that was it. They knew he was there was going to be a point that he was going to go. They knew, and so then I've argued with the matron, because she turned around to me and said, "No, you can't come in." And I'm like, "Right, well, we'll have an issue with this." Where it's like, "Right, well, you're going to get your doctor into trouble because he said yes, you've said no. What's going on?" So, you know, we're having this conversation. I get in, and I finally, like, after all this argument and stuff like that, I finally get to see him. I walk in, and literally skin and bones, nothing of a man that I remember him being. Like, you know, he's a stocky, not like built, but just a stocky guy, big, stocky guy. To see him being skin and bone, patches of skin all over, like falling off and basically just decaying away. To then have him come round and just say to me, because of his regret in his life, to say, "You're the reason why I'm here. You're the reason why I'm dying." And, you know, I live with that for the rest of my life now. And I'm going to be honest, I can even think it to the thing. So we're about 2 weeks away from when he passed away. And, you know, well, to be fair, that was his funeral, was the 19th. So realistically, probably in the next couple of days, to be honest, it'll probably come up on my Instagram feed about, like, obviously with my dad passing and stuff like that. And, you know, that hit me hard. That hit my mental health really hard when that happened, when he said that. And everyone goes, "You're not your dad, you're not this, you're not that." But people don't, it's like one of those situations, like, you'll only understand it if you've lived it. And hearing that off my dad, where, you know, I'm his only son, I'm his only heir to carry on his bloodline, in a male sense. You know, I know it's like, sounds silly, but it's like, you know, you carry on the bloodline and stuff like that. So it was quite heavy when that happened, to be honest. You know, that started a lot of things again, like with my mental health and stuff like that. And even still today, I still struggle with that.
I was just going to ask how you're feeling today about things, like, recently.
I struggle with it because the thing is, like, I feel like I am my dad sometimes, and that, like, you know, the way I act and stuff like that, it makes me upset, because it's like, I don't want to be the man like he was, where, you know, he wasn't there for his kids, and that he wanted to just carry on having this lifestyle of partying, and, you know, the party never ends kind of thing.
Did you say that you still feel like that?
Yeah, still feel like that.
So,
like,
I'm just going back to before where you're saying about, like, you've got a kid who's currently about 6 right now, and like, that killed you. You want to be in that kid's life. Yeah,
well, no, I wanted to. So basically, what happened was obviously the abortion happened, and obviously then realistically now, if that child would have been gone to the full term and born,
sorry,
it would have been about 6 or 7.
I took that as like an adoption thing happened. Sorry,
no.
Yeah.
So basically, like, obviously the child was aborted, and obviously then that just caused a lot of issues in the trauma of a sense. Obviously, that's what I was saying about how, like, women, when they go through an abortion, they get all the support.
Now makes more sense. Yeah. I get that.
But I just know that, obviously, you know, when people have said stuff in the past where it's like, my mum said, like, when I get angry and stuff like that, it's why I suppress my anger, because it's the fact that my mum turns around and says, "You're exactly like your dad when you kick off," and stuff like that.
I don't want to be that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be that. Like, you know, I'm not an aggressive person. I can shout, I can have a go, but realistically, ultimately, I'm not really. I try and keep that very to the minimum, because at the end of the day, all it does is cause grief and pain to everyone around you, and it's not worth it.
But do you reckon, no, that's not fair for your mum to say that, because you've got to have, like, some type of release of anger, and
True.
Obviously it depends where you do it, who you do it in front of, and how you do it. But you can't suppress someone's anger and say to them, "You're just like your dad," especially after what you've gone through.
True, but this is the thing. Like, this is when my dad was still alive that she said this. But at the same time, you've got to remember the amount of trauma and pain that my dad put my mum through. She put him through a lot. Like, to the fact that he cheated on her with another woman, had another kid with this woman, and, you know,
she doesn't want to see him again, and she doesn't want to see her in this
Well,
one.
this is the thing. The same as like quite recently, I found out that I had a half sister. I have two half sisters that I didn't know where they lived, who they were, or anything for years. And one of them has just turned 50. And, you know, like, it was crazy. Like, it was absolutely mental finding out that we've got this sister that I've never knew about. She lived in Leicester, where I'm from, all her life. And she literally lived pretty much about, 5 miles away from where I'm from where my family home is. So to think that I went to school, she lived exactly around there, and I could have bumped into her so many times and I would have never known. Yeah. Same as like, you know, same with the other half sister, like, you know, same as her. Like, I went to school with her sister. And her mum, who was the one that allegedly, because I have to say allegedly because it caused a lot of drama, but allegedly, like, obviously my dad cheated with, on my mum with her mum. So it was just dead weird.
Do you reckon everything did stem from your dad? Everything that's happened to you? And I know it might not seem fair to say that, but if you like sat with it for a minute, do you reckon that if you would have stayed around, a lot of things wouldn't have happened? Because obviously it's like the butterfly effect. Like,
yeah, well, yeah, we can in hindsight's a beautiful thing. We could say, yeah, of course, you know, if he was around, he'd probably be different. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it was the person he was and how he was. He gambled, he drank, he didn't look after himself and stuff like that. You know, he's quite a selfish bloke. So, you know, at the end of the day, what's the point of having a selfish bloke around like that? That's just going to cause more issues than any kind of gain. Yeah. You know, that's what it was like. And obviously my brother, like, bless him, like, he had to grow up with that because obviously he's, 11 years older than me. Yeah. So he was around when my dad was there, and just the issues he was just a bit of an arse and causing problems and stuff like that. So, you know, I can understand why he wasn't there, and, you know, my mum didn't want him in my life. I can get that. But, yeah, just with my dad in general, he's just, you know, I'm glad he's at peace now. And, you know, even after you said that, so, you know, obviously he said about me not wanting, I was the reason why he was on his deathbed and he was dying and stuff like that. Even after that, and he died, and I was like contemplating for ages. I was like, like just thinking about stuff. And, you know, I got to the funeral, and I said before, like, because obviously when they were sorting out all the plans for his funeral and stuff like that, and I was like, I'm not really sure what to do. It's like, because they asked, he's like, do you want to be a pallbearer and carry him in? And I've done it a few times. I've done it a good few times for family members. I've been the pallbearer and carried them in. Because for me personally, if you're going to be a pallbearer for your family member, that is the highest level of respect you can give them. I felt bad when my uncle passed away from prostate cancer. I felt unmanly to kiss him on the cheek on the day that he died. He had the death rattle and everything, his skin and bones, like awful the way he went out. And, you know, for me personally, I thought that was the greatest respect because I didn't do what I wanted to do. I felt awful, but I thought in this way I can be respectful to him. And I remember being at the funeral for my uncle. I'm a dad. Carried him in, not a problem. And for my uncle in particular, I sat there and sat with my cousins. Bearing in mind, she's older than me. She used to look after me as a kid. Like, literally, like, you know. And I sat there with her, 2 kids, and they were sobbing, absolutely sobbing their eyes out, which obviously, you know, it's that environment and everything's going to happen. I sat there. I didn't cry once. Sat there, stonewall. Because in that moment of time, it wasn't for me to cry. It was for me to be supportive and be there as a stonewall and know that, like, everything's going to be okay. I remember after that, coming out, because he buried in the same place, same as my dad and everyone, all buried in the same place in Leicester, in the cemetery there. And I remember going out, and after the funeral, after it all finished, and I said, can you drive me over to my grandma and granddad's grave? Because I want to go, like, just see them. I remember going there, and I dropped to my knees, sobbing, like absolutely sobbing, because I held it all in, because I needed to hold it in for everyone else around me, because they needed me. I just sobbed, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely sobbed, and I'm not even joking. You know when you just drop, like you know if you like get knocked unconscious and you just drop. It's exactly what I did. I dropped and just started crying my eyes out, and just so much pain, and seeing how much pain people were in. Obviously, that's why like it's the stuff that I want to do, like with physio and like with like working where I work now. You know, helping others. That's my thing. And you know, with my dad in particular, I carried him in. Sat him down, obviously sat down, and it was for ages that I didn't, and it was just when they started playing the music, honestly, that got me then. They played The Wanderer by Dion, which is like, I don't know if anyone's played Fallout, it's one of the quite prolific songs in it. So, and then it was like, I think his name was Paul Young, and it's like lay my hat. And basically there's a lyric in it, and it says basically wherever I lay my hat is where my home is and where I belong. That's very much how my dad was. He was a wanderer. He never stayed in one place. He was just here, there and everywhere. He never stayed in one place. And, you know, that hit home because that's how I feel at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm wandering. And, you know, I have so much, the thing is, like I have so much love and respect for my partner because she's done so much in such a little time of being together. She's done so much, and to make me actually feel like I actually belong and that I actually deserve to have something. You know, this is where my dad didn't do anything like that, and I having to do it myself, and then to have someone who actually genuinely does care about me and have those like genuine feelings for me is just a big thing. And I think like everyone should have that. Like if that, definitely in a parent's sense, if we talk like in a parent's sense, we all need that, because the thing is, when we grow up and then we become bitter to the world, like, you know, we want to, you know, you think, oh, you're not good enough for love, you're not good for this or you're good for that. And, you know, it's what my dad did. You know, he made me feel like that, especially when he said that about him being on his deathbed and it's my fault.
I was say, because like, I'd probably say that to kind of sum all that up, and like even this whole conversation that we've had and everything that you've done. Like we introduced you of a gym lover, NHS worker, an upcoming physio, and mental health enthusiast, a man that loves and respects people, a man that always tries to do his best, a man that thinks logical. There's nothing there that indicates anything of you are a bad person or you've done bad things. You've always got people at heart, you've always got the good intentions of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the sooner you start to actually realise that, the sooner like you're going to start excelling faster than what you think you can. Because this whole convo, like I've known you for a while now, but obviously we've never got this deep before, but like
I know
you've shocked me as a person.
It's like just a little bit of a deep one, isn't it?
Jesus Christ. Probably have to come back for part 2. But I'm not gonna lie, you shouldn't have anything, like any bad bone in your body that you think is there, because you don't. You have not got a bad bone in your body, lads, and all your intentions are true and good.
Like I said, I try my best, and yeah, have I made mistakes? You better right, I have. I've made many mistakes in my life, and some I genuinely will regret for the rest of my life.
And that's called being human, though, lads.
Yeah,
You've got to learn from your mistakes, because no one's perfect.
No,
Not
massively.
big or small, lad. Like
It's just one of them where it's just, you know, I keep trying to work on myself the best I can, and you know, my missus always says to me, "I think you're amazing. I think you're great." And you know, sometimes she thinks the sun shines out my arse, but it doesn't. It really doesn't. You know, and it's all this whole thing of being humble. Like I won't accept a compliment. You know, if someone says, "I think you're really attractive," I'm like, "Oh, okay, son, yeah, fine, thanks." You know, I won't ever truly accept a compliment because I don't think like that. Like, you know, I'm very humble, and I think I'm very average in every way, from tip to toe. But even mentally, like, you know, I just think I'm just a general average bloke going out and doing his business, earning his money and going home, and you know, just that's it really. Like, I know it sounds really boring and really average, and you're like, oh, seems a bit of a drip, really. But you know, at the end of the day, like, that's just how I see things, because I want to live a life where it's like I'm happy and I make the people around me happy. That's it. I don't need all this money. I don't need fame. I don't need, you know, the validation of everyone else. Don't get me wrong. I would love that, and you know, it'd probably make me feel a little bit better. But ultimately, if I was to look at it as a thing, if I can just be happy with myself and be happy with the people that I love and care about, nothing else matters.
And that's it, lad. That is literally it. You're being mindful of everyone. Be mindful of yourself. So keep doing it, lad. You're not doing anything wrong. In a sense, you're doing everything right. You're being a good human, being a good person, good man.
I try.
You try. Have you got anything more that you want to ask? Or Joe, say? No?
So,
Joe being the second podcaster, just coming in, asking things.
Joe be on the table, so.
I like sometimes asking them, like, deeper kind of, like, just digging just a little bit deeper. Like, I don't know, sometimes I just... Like, when we went to the gambling or the drinking, like, just touching on things and letting
this is the thing, is it does dig deep, like, realistically, I can speak about most things and not have an issue. Like, I could feel a little bit sad and a little bit upset, of course, but at the same time, I know that, realistically, you can't own up to the things that have damaged you and hurt you in your past.
That's it.
You'll never move forward as a person, and I can speak about these things quite openly. Don't get me wrong, they still knock me for six sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you don't speak about things will never get sorted. And like obviously with Paddy and stuff like that, I'd rather speak about it to someone than think, right, well, it's not worth, things aren't worth it anymore.
I think I've been there,
and it's
very
not
healthy,
fair.
isn't it? The way you can sit back, reflect, and realise the person. Well, the things that have made you the person that you are now. And you know, in life, as you're going through these obstacles and challenges and hurdles, things that set you back, but when you do take time like this to actually have the conversation, and obviously you've reflected in your own time and being able to look back, but it's very healthy, and especially to even have conversations like this. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, like, at the end of the day, like, I know for the future, when I have my own kids, they'll more than be able to think. I know for a fact that from my own ideology and how I think about things, unfortunately, I'm going to be one of those geeky dads who does the full Christmas shebang, does the Halloween stuff.
Can't wait for it.
No, I can't wait for it, lad. Like, obviously, it's not happening anytime soon. Like, my missus has been quite clear. It's like, it's like 10 years, and I was like, well, I'm not near my 40s, but no, like I said, do the things that I never got to do with my dad.
Yeah.
And have that stability. Like, you know what I mean? Like, having a dad there and knowing that the dad cares and loves for you. And, am I going to be one of those dads who's probably in his 50s or 60s and his daughter or his son's ringing him up at like 3 a.m, Dad, I'm like absolutely bladdered out my face. I don't know, I'm getting home. And, I'm probably going to be that idiot who's going to go, yeah, okay, don't worry. I'll come pick you up. Even though I've got work in like 2 hours. But yeah, it's fine. I'll come pick you up. Yeah. It's just, being a dad, like, I don't know if you can agree with me on this, because obviously being from I don't know, from anyone who's from a single parent, like only a mother's background kind of thing, like, just how important it is.
You want to provide all the things that you weren't able to receive,
like you want to be the dad that you never had, and it pushes you in a sense.
Well, I think it's quite motivational as well when you think like that. There's a quote, something like, even if you're just doing like 1% a day in a year, that's a 365% improvement. So that's like 3 times better than what you would have been a year ago. Massively. And when I think about quotes like that, I think even if the small things that I'm doing every day, it's building up to the bigger picture.
It's Will Smith said something similar. He went, if you want to build a wall, you don't build the wall straight away, you build it brick by brick, and you make sure that each brick that you place that down so perfectly that when you finish, you've got a perfect wall.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just a step. But be the dad that you always wanted in your life. Be the dad that little Robert has always wanted.
This is the thing. We were just about to say that, it's like being the man that... Being the father and being the man that obviously, he can be around, and that, the younger me can be proud of, and that, I can turn back, but hopefully one day in the future I can turn around to that young version of myself and say that, I love you and I care for you and I'll always be there, and actually being able to say that instead of freezing. So, yeah.
I think you will. And I think, because we've been running for quite some time now, and I've been needing a piss for like the past 2 hours.
It's just gone.
It does fly past.
This is the thing.
It's done,
it's mad,
isn't it? But I think the next time you come on, which I think you will,
Well,
I
like I say, if
think-
you need plenty of stories about silly little things or whatever, you know, I'm always about.
I think the next time that you come on, though, and everything that we spoke about today, you're going to be in a well better headspace.
Well,
it.
that's what I'm hoping for, but you know, it's life, and you know, all I'm hoping for is to keep moving forwards and making sure that I make the people that I need to make proud and make myself happy. That's the main thing to
And
me.
that's all you can do, and that's all you need to do. Right, Rob, lad, I want to say thanks for coming on today, lad. It's been a bore, and it's been a deep convo, and I'll look forward to having you come back on.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like I said, I'm more than welcome.
Thanks.